We should do this, but we won't because there's not actual black people at times of video games because it's fantasy, but Ganondorf isn't black. This doesn't compute. We don't address it by just saying, hey, you're all racist, stop being pieces of shit. We've got the squid. We got the black squid, okay? She's a squid now, she's a kid now. No matter squid or kid, always black. You must look. I'm gonna get canceled, aren't I? It's fine. Overwatch. Oh my god, the diversity in Overwatch. I don't think there's a white person in it. Doesn't that actually just completely destroy his argument of why no black people in video games? That's not the title of this video and not what he said so far. So are we gonna just completely pivot to a different point? What? God! This close! You, God!
Everyone was black in a way that didn't take.
That's a wild statement. Congratulations, you're beating the living shit out of this one idiot. I'm glad you tried to find a counter argument, but damn, was that a good one, my dude. So today we're going to talk about why there are no black people in video games. I figure I'm a white guy. I should have a very good perspective on this, right? It affects me greatly, obviously. I mean, come on. Everyone wants to hear a white man's opinion on why there are no black people in video games. Who doesn't want to hear that? Absolutely everyone does. I've been told many times that many people care about my opinions on black people and their representation in media and how they are treated in our society. Lots of people really seem to care about what I have to say about that. I know it seems like maybe they don't, but lots of people really care. I'm telling you. I'm telling you. I'm a necessary voice. I'm telling you. Alright. All that sarcasm and fun aside, let's get started.
In this video, I'll be discussing the controversial topic of race.
Yes, it is a bit of a controversial topic. I guess before I get too deep into the video, let me explain why I think there probably aren't a lot of black people in video games. Because I think it's probably obvious that there aren't that many. My hypothesis would be it's most game developers either come from East Asia, so it's going to be like your Japan and your South Korea, and then a lot of them come from North America, so it's going to be Canada and the U.S. The U.S. population of black people, I believe, is, I don't know, somewhere in the teens in percentage, so probably 13, 14%, something like that. I haven't looked it up in a while, but I don't believe it's even reached 20%. I don't know what it is in Japan and South Korea, but I'm going to guess it's even lower. There's also a good amount of European game developers, which also the black population there isn't very high either. So just guessing that based on the main demographics of game developers and the main demographics of people who consume games, that's probably why there isn't that many black people in games. Now, I don't know, but I would guess that there are less black people in video games than there would be like representation of black people in the populations that consume them. I don't know that. So let's say like in America, I'm just gonna say 15% of the population is black people, just as a nice round number. I would guess that at least as like main characters in video games, black people probably make up less than 15% of main characters in video games. I don't know, but that's what I would guess. So there may be a bit of an imbalance there. I don't know if the same could be true about demographics of the developers themselves. I really don't know what the stats on black representation in like tech industries, programming, and game development would be. So that may at least partially explain why there would be less black people in games than you might expect. None of this is to say that it's a good or bad thing that they're not in there. It's just, that's why I think it probably is. But Captain Astronaut is hopefully going to provide us a couple of more arguments. So let's see if we can't learn something today.
in video games, a topic that I'm not an expert on, but I did do a lot of research for this video. Plus, I do have a couple decades of personal experience to draw upon. Like with all of my videos, I make some jokes.
Well, that's good. Would I consider myself an expert on video games? Probably not on representation in video games. I might be an expert on video games as like a medium, in that I've just played a load of them, and I play them a lot. I'm not an expert on game design. I never made a video game. I am an expert on programming. I'm a programmer for my profession, so some of that would transfer over. I'm looking for crafting. So, yeah, maybe it's good that he's just acknowledging his downfall, or his downsides, not his downfall. Some of the downsides there. Hopefully, maybe I can fill in some of the gaps, though. Maybe not, though. Maybe I'm not the best person to talk about this. But it's not going to stop me. I can't shut up, and I never will.
And make some serious points, and I trust that you, the viewer, will be able to tell the difference.
There is one thing there. I can appreciate jokes and stuff. I don't like it. I'm not saying this guy is doing this, but I don't like it when people just hide behind like irony while making critiques of things. You know, they can just say like every time they make a really bad point, they're like, "Oh, I was making a joke." That's not great. That doesn't mean we shouldn't be able to tell the difference between the jokes and non-jokes. But it's just, if like 80% of it is ironic and you can sit there and use that as a shield, you can just be like, hey, I don't actually believe this part. Anytime somebody agrees with you, you can say you're being serious. And anytime somebody disagrees with you, you can say you weren't being serious. So with that in mind, I'm going to do my best to identify it. But I guess if it sounds like it's a joke, I'll try to analyze it as though it weren't a joke, and then say whether or not I thought they were joking. So we can get both across.
Basically, if it sounds like I might be joking, I probably am. When I was teenage Mr. Spaceman and playing Super Smash Bros. Brawl, my best character was Mr. Game & Watch.
Okay, so first of all, Mr. Game & Watch, clearly black. Look at him. We're already doing great. His favorite character, black. We're nailing it so far.
And when my friends would ask, why do they keep playing as Game & Watch? I would jokingly tell them, oh, I play as him because he's the only black character in the game.
Oh, look at that. Made the same joke that I did. See? So many times. Oh, so many times. I say something as a joke, not realizing that that's what's coming up in the video. And there it is. It came up in the video. Yeah, jokingly say Mixer to Game & Watch is a black character. That's a fun name. I appreciate that.
Also, his down throw to down smash combo is super cheap. I love it. Fast forward to now.
Yeah, I don't remember which one he was saying, but down throw to down smash. Yeah, I believe that was in Brawl. I played Brawl a lot back in the day. So that was good times. I got pretty damn good at Brawl in college. I played a bunch of people who competed in tournaments, and I actually smashed them. So I was pretty good at Brawl. But yeah, Game & Watch. I never considered him particularly good, but he did have a couple of cheap things.
Now the Smash roster has gone from 12 characters to like 90. They got everyone in this game. They got everybody in this game. But how many black people do they have? We're gonna go to all the black characters that are in Smash Brothers, and I can't think of too many other than switching character skins. Castlevania, they got Dracula, they got Kingdom Heart, they got Hentai, they got Noodles. Over 50 different games represented in the roster.
Yeah, Min Min, Asian representation. There you go. Look, we're doing it. She's also dragon representation, sorta. She's got dragons on her arms. That's good. I like to see our dragons in games. I don't know, Ridley may have been good dragon representation already. I'm not sure. Ridley's sort of a dragon monster hybrid thing. I don't know what the f it is exactly. But yeah, you're right. Looks like we got a pretty diverse cast of characters here.
From Nintendo games to other companies' games, and out of almost 100 characters, with the exception of the customizable Mii fighters that can look like however you want, how many black characters can you play as? 2! And they're not even on the characters list.
Yeah, the two he showed are Yeah, so the villager is basically a create me character, right? I mean, it has a default color scheme. But the villager in the game is just a created character. So it makes sense that we would have black versions there. So yeah, so it makes sense that the villager would have skins that are all over the place. I believe Inklings are basically the same deal. So if that's all the actual black characters we have, that's interesting because they are both like player inserts, customizable characters.
Flex screen, they're alternate palette swaps. 3 if you count Pokemon Trainer.
They are alternate. Well, okay, so Pokemon Trainer would be as much of a count as the other ones if they're palette swaps, right? But anyway, yeah, so Pokemon Trainer should count just as much as the villagers or Inklings. I don't know why you didn't count them there. They come in every shade of skin color that I've pretty much seen, as far as I know. But let's see why they don't.
But technically you play as the Pokemon, not the trainer. Compare.
Okay, yeah, so you do actually technically, if we're being real technical, you do technically play as the Pokemon trainer. I know this because you switch. A Pokemon can't switch itself. So Pokemon trainer can switch. You would say you play as Charizard in the which game was that? That was Smash 4, so Smash for Wii U and 3DS. So you would say you play as Charizard there because he doesn't switch, but you play as Pokemon Trainer in Smash Ultimate because you switch the characters. Pokemon can't switch themselves. So the idea theoretically is that everything that the Bulbasaur or your Ivysaur, your Squirtle, or your Charizard is doing would be something that the Pokemon Trainer is yelling at it. And they do appear 100% of the time. They're in the background the entire time. So unless like there's a weird stage transition or something like that where they go away for a little bit, but they always show back up. So yeah, so I would say they should count. I'm not saying that this dude is telling me they didn't count. That's why he brought it up. But it is just a bit strange. That would bring us up to 3. I'm gonna count it. He might not count it. I'm gonna count it as 3.
There two.
All right, is every one of those characters that we showed there a human? It looks like it, yeah. I was worried that he was just going to show... First of all, he has Pokemon Trainer in there. That's bull. All the other ones are humans, I believe. Or at least they might be like some kind of other version of human. But it's not monsters like Bowser and Ridley and like that. So, good. That makes sense. Oh, he showed Pokemon Trainer twice. He shows Pokemon Trainer in the main cast, and then he shows them in as the ones that are representation. Not sure why that is, but...
Yeah, okay. Maybe you could count Ganondorf too, but...
Hold your fire!
I don't know if you could count Ganondorf. Ganondorf I always thought was more of like a Middle Eastern style character. He's a Gerudo. And if I played Breath of the Wild, then I played that section of Tears of the Kingdom. I haven't played any other Zelda games significantly. And I always got like a Middle Eastern kind of vibe from them. I know in the description it says a lot of what I say also applies to other minorities too, not just black people. So yeah, they could be considered black. They're at least dark skin. And if we're going to count Link, then I feel like we should, because Link is not like European. So if the argument is that Gerudo people aren't from Africa or something like that, so they're not black, then that wouldn't make sense to count Link as white. You know? So I think Gerudos should count. Not entirely sure. It's just, it would be the difference between saying they're like a Middle Eastern kind of person versus a black person. It would be brown versus black, right? So I don't know which one of those they would actually follow. The line is a little blurry because they're not actually from a country. But it seems like, as a white guy, I would say that they're close enough to count. So yeah, so what are we up to? 5 or 4? No, we're up to 4.
This man isn't black!
That's right, y'all. Today we're gonna be talking...
Okay. Gatekeeping blackness a little bit there, aren't we? Which I guess makes sense. You probably have to gatekeep blackness to some degree, right? Because if you say... Well, only based on, like, their actual traits. If you say, like, a black person isn't black because they voted Republican or something, that's not good gatekeeping. But if I say I'm black and someone says, no, you're not, that's fine. Because I'm not black. I got 0% African ancestry or any other, like, Cuban, or not Cuban, like, I don't know. Why can't I think of... Barbados, I guess, would be one. Why can't I think of the... Bahamas. Yeah, I don't have any nationality that would make me black. Funny story, my dad was actually hoping that he would have a little bit of black in him because my dad is a fucking goofball idiot. He was hoping that he would have a little bit of black in him so he could say he was black. But he did his Ancestry.com thing, and it was like 55% Eastern European and then like 45% Germanic. So we're like German and Polish, 100%. We are zero, a strong goose egg on black.
Talking about black people, race, and diversity in video games. Happy Black History Month.
I didn't make it on Black History Month, nor did I make it on MLK Day. Oh well. It's always the right time to talk about diversity in video games.
Oh, god dang it!
RIP. Yeah, content creation isn't quick. The little I do takes more time than it probably should. It feels like it's like immediate, but it's not. So I feel you there, brother. Not like as much because you're clearly editing more than I ever have in my life. But what little I do, I understand. I understand.
Well, that guy can't tell time. And yes, the irony of the video about black people being late is not lost on me. But you know what?
I didn't even make that connection. Jesus, dude. Okay, well, yeah, I can appreciate that joke. I don't think that one requires the let's analyze his argument versus let's see if it's a joke. That's clearly a joke.
No, this was done on purpose. It doesn't have to be the shortest month of the year to acknowledge black people. And before anyone is a funny guy in comments,
what are you talking about? There have always been black people in Smash. Donkey Kong's right there.
Jesus! Yeah, we're going ham on these. I thought the Mr. Game & Watch one was acceptable, but this one's okay. Going Donkey Kong on it. Damn. But no, Donkey Kong is not black. I understand the meme. No, Donkey Kong is not black. I feel comfortable in saying that Donkey Kong is indeed not black. I feel okay saying that.
wow, what an original joke. You have the best material. Also, for the purposes of this video, I'm going to lump black and dark-skinned under the same umbrella and...
Okay, well, if we're lumping black and dark-skinned people under the same umbrella, then Ganondorf, like, has to count, right? I don't know why he's gatekeeping Ganondorf out of there, but seems like he should definitely count.
Use them interchangeably, which technically is not correct, but racial terms get confusing.
Yeah, I would say it isn't correct, but it is fair. If the goal is to talk about representation of at least darker skin things, then you shouldn't do that. Or then that's fair. You are doing this. It is very strange to just be like, I'm going to say black, but I mean everybody. I mean darker skinned folks, but you shouldn't do that. Like, that just seems like you're clickbaiting then. The actual title of your video and what you say should be why no dark-skinned people in video games, right? This here doesn't absolve you of it. It's not really even much of a shorthand. Black versus dark skin is not a huge shorthand that, like, really helps you. I mean, I'll keep that in mind while I'm listening to it, but why not just not do the thing that you think is bad?
It's not talking about real places, and it'll make sense in the context of this video. All right, that's enough.
I guess that is fair. It isn't talking about real places. That's why the line on Ganondorf doesn't make a whole lot of sense. It's just like, wait, like, is he black? Is he not? I'm not sure. But then again, he used that to say Ganondorf is not black. So, bit of mixed messaging here. Not entirely clear. We should do this, but we won't because there's not actual black people a lot of times in video games because it's fantasy, but Ganondorf isn't black. This doesn't compute, my dude. I would say, just say dark-skinned people, and then you don't have to do any computing, you don't have to do any explaining. It just works, right? It just works. Dark skin is a feature of them. It's not a race, it's not a nationality. You can just say dark skin, and bam, you've got it. You've nailed it.
Enough disclaimers. Anyways, look, I'm not accusing the creators of Smash of doing a racism or anything. Smash Brothers is a reflection of the gaming industry, pulling its roster stages and content from all sorts of different game series, primarily Nintendo games.
Yeah, that's good that you're not trying to accuse them of doing a racism. Generally, I find it a lot more persuasive if you don't, like, attack people. You just say, hey, this is a thing that you might not realize you're doing that's not great. Let me explain to you why. I understand why it happened. You gotta come at these things with understanding. So, don't just attack them and say, like, oh, you're a horrible piece of shit. Like, yeah, criticize people, sure. But you don't have to villainize them every time. There comes a time for villainizing people. I don't think that Smash Brothers is that time. Based on what I said before, I think this is a reflection on the consumers and makers of video games. So we would have to change the problem of makers of video games should maybe be a little bit more diverse, if this is your goal. Or we should get, if there's any biases in the current gaming populace that keeps black people or dark-skinned folks from playing games, then we should start getting rid of those, right? That would be how we address it. We don't address it by just saying, hey, you're all racist, stop being pieces of shit. So I'm happy to hear that that's not what he's trying to do.
Nintendo has very few humanoid characters, and many of its franchises mostly rely on legacy characters rather than inventing new ones.
That's true, too. Humanoid, a lot of Nintendo stuff, like a Kirby is not a humanoid, you know. Most villains in Nintendo games actually aren't humanoid. Well, they might be humanoid, but they're not like... Oh god, I'm dying. Is the definition of human... Maybe anthropomorphic is where they actually like have a vague human shape where they have legs, arms, head. And then humanoid would be like... You're pretty close to a human, maybe you have some features that don't. Like, Bowser might be anthropomorphic, but he's not humanoid because he's a lizard, right? Yeah, I think that would be the difference. I don't actually know. And I'm not going to look it up. Because why educate yourself? It's better to just assume that you're right and move on.
The only human characters in Mario are Mario, Peach, Toad, and variations on those designs.
Toad is absolutely not a human. He's a mushroom thing. I guess he would count as humanoid, maybe. I don't know. Since it's the line is blurry. Does the mushroom on his head means he's not a humanoid? Toad is more close to one of those zombie things in Last of Us. And infected. Look at him. He's clearly got no brain. It's all mushroom up there. But I guess I would say those are humanoid. So, yeah, I don't know if I would consider Toad a human. Probably not. I know he's not technically a human because of his video game and all that. Mario probably isn't technically a human. Especially Mario has that confusing shit in New Donk City where there's like real human beings. And then there's Mario. They're all like regular, there's 5-6 foot tall people, and there's Mario like 2 feet tall near them. Like, what is that? Why did they make us question our existence and what Mario is so much? I don't know why they made that decision. It's so strange.
The last new mainstay Mario character was who? Rosalina? Back in 2007? 15 years ago?
Yeah, would that be the latest mainstay one? There wasn't really a mainstay one introduced in Mario. Why can I not think of the name of the last Mario game that came out? It's not Galaxy. Odyssey. There it is. What's her name became big. I am blanking on Mario names. The girl who sings the song. Paulina, I think. She's an old school Mario character though, but she did become way more important thanks to that game.
Yeah, I guess, yeah, Rosalina was the latest mainstay addition to the Mario cast. There might be, I'm trying to think if there's more. I don't play all Mario games all that much. Bowser's always like the main villain, pretty much. I can't even think of like a serious villain that was added either.
Remember how they whitewashed Daisy? Are there any black characters
Did they? I did not actually notice that they whitewashed Daisy. That's interesting.
in Mario? What the fuck?
That can't be real. Somebody's claiming that Goombas are black? That can't be real. What the f? That's not even like, that doesn't even fit like a racial stereotype. That's not even like a funny meme. What the f would that mean? There's no way. I can't imagine. That can't be real. What the f? Did he edit this? Did you, be honest, Captain Astronaut. Did you edit this? Are you making this shit up? Be honest with me, dude.
So don't get your Zelda shirt and cargo shorts in a tussle. I'm not hopping online to say that Nintendo doesn't care about black people. Many of the series represented by the Smash.
Yeah, again, I'm glad he's not just immediately saying like, hey, they're racist people. Trying to be nice while exploring this. I appreciate it.
Trust or have black and dark skinned characters in those games.
Well, there you go. That's that guy in Bayonetta. That's now a Nintendo character. So there you go. Get him in Smash. That's the best argument for getting that guy in Smash. I can't remember that guy's name. I played Bayonetta 1 and 2 and I enjoyed them. Didn't play 3. I kind of forgot 3 was a thing, to be completely honest with you. But yeah, get that guy in Smash. Get the weapons dealer from Bayonetta in Smash. Come on. We need it.
Plus, recent Nintendo games have definitely done more of an effort in terms of diversity. You've got Marina from Splatoon 2.
Yeah, there you go. Get her in Smash too. Let's get them black people in Smash. Come on now. Come on now. We can do it.
She's a news reporter and a DJ and an inventor, and she speaks.
Yeah, the Splatoon. Okay, I was gonna say I don't remember what the other one was because she's with another person. It's Pearl. She's the whitest thing on the face of the planet. So that's interesting. Also, when we were talking about, this is such a nitpicky thing, but I'm just gonna go into it anyway because it. Is a Inkling a humanoid, or is it just anthropomorphic? Because it's basically, the thing turns into a squid, which, you know, is fine, but is it a squid now or a kid now? You know? That's what we're trying to figure out. It's got tentacles for hair. It's clearly at least anthropomorphic, because it's got arms, legs, and all that. But is it a humanoid? I guess so, probably, right? Because it's mostly human features. You'd probably say a Gorgon is humanoid, right? Or no, they have a snake body, so that wouldn't even be anthropomorphic. That's just a whole different thing. I think it would be humanoid. These are the important questions you gotta ask yourself, okay? These are very important.
Speaks every time you turn the game on. Literally every time you turn the game on.
Yes, that's so dumb. You know what it is? It's Nintendo trying to jam diversity down your throat. That's what it is. They have a black character every single time you turn on your video game. Every single time you turn it on, they're going to show you. They're like, look at our black character. Look, we're not racist. I promise we're not racist. Look at it. Look at it. Don't claim we're racist anymore. We've got the squid. We got the black squid, okay? She's a squid now. She's a kid now. No matter squid or kid, always black. You must look. Just one more way wokeness is destroying our society. Am I right or am I right?
You've got Twintel from ARMS. She's an actress who uses her hair to fight, while most of them are background in.
Yeah, that's one thing. ARMS is incredibly racially diverse. It actually reminds me a lot of Street Fighter. I'll talk about that too. ARMS, I don't remember every character in ARMS, but a lot of them aren't even really humans. There's like a mummy guy who you can't really tell what he is. There's a robot. There's a dog. Robot and a dog might be the same thing. There's at least multiple robots because the main guy, Springman or whatever the f his name is, he's got a robot form too. There's black character. I believe there's at least like one Middle Eastern character. I don't remember the whole roster of ARMS. I didn't play it that much. It's not that great of a game.
But it is very racially diverse. I find fighting games are incredibly not only racially but also gender diverse. Street Fighter is like the epitome of this. They even show you the flag when you select your character. They often, in most of the games, I don't know if it's all of them, but in a lot of them, they show you the flag of where they're from. Like Blanca is from Brazil. You got DJ from Jamaica. You got Cammy's from England. Guile, of course, is from America. Ryu's from Japan. Like it literally shows you. Chun-Li's from China. It literally shows you where they're from, and it's incredibly racially diverse. There's Middle Eastern people. There's like Dalsim from India. There's Hakan is Turkish, I think. I don't know. It's just like there's probably more Japanese characters than anything in that game, because I think even like Akuma's Japanese too, along with Ryu. But it's incredibly racially diverse. I'm not saying that's a huge representation of all games, but like that game, if you want the good representation, that's where you go. Soul Calibur is also pretty good with it. I don't know if it's as good as Street Fighter, but you've got like your Europeans like Ivy and Cervantes, plenty of Japan and China representation. I don't remember where every character is from, but Mitsurugi's clearly from Japan. He looks a lot like my character. Very good, nice samurai guy. I want to say Zhenghua is from China. I think they got a couple of Greek characters in there, in Sophitia, and I don't remember her sister's name. Tekken's pretty good. I don't remember the thing with the racial diversity in Tekken, but we've got a panda. We've got a just regular brown bear. We've got robots. You know, we're out there doing it. So yeah, so I think fighting games really seem to be a good, other than I guess Smash, really seem to be a good place. If you're looking for that great racial and gender diversity, fighting games is where it makes sense. And that makes sense because you really want each fighter to have their own identity. You want them to be very differentiated from the others, both visually and just like personality and style. So especially if you're coming up with like different fighting styles, where would you go? You would go look at different martial arts from different parts of the world, right? So you make a character that does a martial art from a different part of the world. It makes perfect sense that person is just from there, so it just looks like the people from there. So that naturally happens. Smash Brothers, you don't really get that because it's a conglomeration of characters who don't necessarily practice martial arts. They are just people from different popular games. It's mostly Nintendo games, but a good point of representation, Pac-Man is clearly from Asia. He's got yellow skin. See? Come on now. Just like Mr. Game & Watch is black, Pac-Man is Asian. Come on now. I'm gonna get canceled, aren't I? It's fine. Nobody watches the stream anyway. Who the is gonna cancel me? You can't cancel me if you don't see me do the racist shit. See? That's that million IQ thinking.
PCs, you've got all the Gerudo women from Zelda Breath of the Wild. Urbosa was a very popular champion.
Yeah, see? We got League of Legends. I don't play League of Legends, but what I've seen of League of Legends, there's lots of wild characters, there's lots of diversity of character in there. So that seems like a pretty good one too. Couldn't tell you about like Valorant. Overwatch, oh my god, the diversity in Overwatch. I don't think there's a white person in it. It's like, nah, of course the white person is the generic Soldier 76. There's other white people in it too, like Mercy. But of course, you make the most generic character, Soldier 76, the Call of Duty character. Of course, you make that guy white. But that makes me think a little bit. A lot of the lack of diversity might be in the subject of the game, because like European fantasy will oftentimes not have black people, like The Witcher, because it's old. And written by a Polish guy who's focusing on European fantasy, so Western style fantasy. That doesn't mean you can't have black people in there, but that dude comes from a very non-diverse area, and classically Western fantasy mostly had white people in it. So it makes sense why the Witcher games wouldn't then be super diverse, right? Can I at least get rid of that? Yes, good. So that would make some sense. Also stuff like, what is it? Not Chivalry. What is that? That one game that people got mad about having black people in it. Kingdom Come Deliverance. That one. That would make sense because it's based entirely in Europe. In like the, I don't know, 1200s or whatever. Medieval Europe. So that would make some sense that it's not super diverse, right? It seems like it would. But maybe I'm ignorant. And like Tolkien stuff. So Tolkien, also European fantasy. So all the Lord of the Rings characters, there's not many black people in Lord of the Rings in the like book or in the movies. Therefore, and then so in the games there wouldn't be either. So that makes some sense. I know Magic the Gathering went and made a bunch of the Lord of the Rings characters diverse, which I don't really have strong feelings on. I don't care one way or the other. I'm not hardcore into Lord of the Rings. I like it as much as the next guy, but I don't ultimately care. But I also don't play Magic anymore. So I don't give a shit that they made Aragorn black or whatever. Do whatever you gotta do. If that sells you more Magic cards, go ahead and do it. Be my guest. But yeah, so some of the subject matter just isn't really ripe for diversity all the time.
From the game, plus a few longtime characters like Doc Lewis from Punch-Out, but then there's the rest of the Punch-Out rock.
Yeah, Punch-Out in the top 10 racist moments video that I watched like a couple months ago. They talked about Punch-Out because it was like basically just every character was racist, including against white people. So while it may be diverse, sometimes diversity, if you're just making stereotypes, isn't always the best.
Roster that mostly relies on stereotypes, so ugh. And Pokemon! The last 4 generations of Pokemon took place all over the world.
Yeah, Pokemon has been doing a lot better with that. It was just all 100% Japan, and you couldn't even be a girl at the beginning. But of course later, Professor Oak loses his mind, and he has to ask you if you're a boy or girl every time, because he just can't tell. But then, it's like, oh, well, maybe he just wants to respect your gender identity, you know? You know, Pokemon more progressive than people think. You know, it's gotten worse over the last at least 2 games. Well, actually, no, 3. Sun and Moon sucked. Sword and Shield sucked, and Scarlet and Violet sucked. Although I did actually get into the competitive in Sword and Shield because they made it easier than ever. The overall game is kind of terrible garbage. But you know. What do I know about that? I've only played hundreds of hours of every Pokemon generation. The last good one, in my opinion, was X and Y. And X and Y were really good. Bring back Megas. Bring back Mega Evolutions, please. Why do we keep doing all these? We can do the raid things. Just make them a big Mega Evolution. I guess that's kind of what Gigantamaxing is. But I don't know. Mega is cooler. Mega's cooler than Gigantamaxing. Like a Earth... Earth Snorlax is nowhere near as cool as the black and blue Mega Evolution Charizard, right? Snorlax with trees on it isn't as cool as that Charizard, okay? Basically, every Mega Evolution is better than every Gigantamax. And terraforms, crystallizing while cool in concept because it changes types, Mega Evolution already did that on some occasions. Charizard being a good example, became a fire and dragon type. And then Gyarados also being a good example, became a water and dark type. There's other examples. What the f did I say? Oh, Terra is good, but it's boring. It's just a filter over them. So, anyway. Pokemon rant over. TLDR, bring back Mega Evolutions. But yeah, it has done a lot better, especially your character creators don't just mean boy and girl anymore. You can pick any race you want. They're also set all over the damn place. The last one, where the f Sword and Shield was like England. X and Y, not X and Y. X and Y were like Paris, kind of France. And then Sun and Moon were like Hawaii, kind of. Like tropical sort of thing. They called them Island Kahunas and shit. Where the f was Scarlet and Violet? trying to picture what place that looks like. It's a big open world. I don't remember. The cities kind of suck in that game, so I don't remember what it was supposed to be like based on. But yeah, they've done a good job of like moving things around recently. Mostly European style, since they started off like entirely in Japan, basically. Like I believe the first 3 were basically entirely just like, hey, this is just Japan, still, which is fair. Japanese company. Pokemon Company is made up of like 3 Japanese companies: Game Freak, Nintendo, and Creatures Inc. So it's not surprising that they made everything in Japan, but you know, it is what it is. But you can, they are moving around just like Sucker Punch does with Ghost of Tsushima. They're entirely Seattle-based, I believe. I believe they're right down the street from me. And they made a game based on Japanese samurai. And apparently, it does a pretty good job of respecting it. I don't know about Japan or samurai, but that's what I hear through the grapevine. Is a reasonably respectable game.
Universe USA, you got multiple characters like Iris, Jim Lee.
Universe USA? Yeah, I mean, I guess. Yeah, it was. It had like New York City in it, kind of, right?
Leader and Champion. Kalos is France. There's Grant. Alola is Hawaii.
Well, that was a little racist, don't you think? Saying "ha oui oui" type. As a non-French person, I'm offended for all of France. Okay.
You've got many dark-skinned characters there. Galar is Britain in it, and you've got characters like Nessa, where some
Nessa, the person on his thumbnail. That's I can't think of words right now. Have you ever just not been able to speak English? That happens to me. It's the only language I speak, and a lot of times I just can't speak it. I'm just dog.
Artists on Twitter pulled like this. It's not even gonna appear in front of the green screen properly.
Yeah, so they just put that. Okay, I didn't actually see the artist thing. Let me go back a little bit. I just put. Oh my God! Jesus Christ! Holy! I was not ready. I thought it was gonna be his little scarf thing. I thought it was gonna be like traditional African garb. Jesus Christ! That middle one is horrendous. What the? The whitewash ones are whack, but God, that middle one is. Jesus! Why humanity? Why do we gotta do this? Can't we all just get along? It is kind of funny, but it's wild. The internet is a wild place. It's dangerous. Okay, the internet's very dangerous. Be careful. Be careful out there. You know, you could just run into something as horrifying as that out in the wilds. I'll try to keep you safe, but there's only so much I can do.
It's not even gonna appear in front of the green screen properly.
I mean, if it's in front of the green screen, then it would be green still, right? I mean, I guess if you're trying to animate something else behind you, that would be a problem. But your current thing just shows it. It's a little bit clippy, but it just shows it as green. You know, it's gonna be fine.
Really.
Hold it!
But
Hold
Mr.
it.
Spaceman, what are you talking about? There's plenty of great black video game characters.
This wouldn't be a response to what you just said because you were just talking about all the black video game characters. So wouldn't this hold it section belong right in front of the section that you just went over? This seems like it's kind of out of order. But maybe the idea is that, hey, you went over all the black video game characters in games. Black video game characters in games. Aren't I redundant as... See, I told you I can't speak English. Didn't I just tell you that? Anyway, maybe the idea is that, like, hey, you just went over all the good ones, so, yeah, problem solved. There's plenty of them. We did it. We nailed it. Racism cured. But yeah, this seemed like it should have went in front of the other part.
You've got Lee and Clementine from Walking Dead, Coach from Left 4 Dead.
Look at that! Left 4 Dead. 25% of the main characters in Left 4 Dead are black. If that ain't progress, I don't know what is, right? 100% of the playable characters in the Left 4 Dead thing are black. They make up 15 or so % of the population. That's just the number I'm spitting out because I think it's close to that. But yeah, so those are diversity confirmed. Valve and I don't remember who the Telltale confirmed for SJW bullshit. Confirmed. You gotta have exactly 15% of black people, or else you're SJW woke trash. We know this. This is known.
Dead. Shinobu from No More Heroes. Miles Morales from Spider-Man.
Yeah, Miles Morales from Spider. Hey, there's another one. Spider-Man 2. 50% of the play. Actually, no, it's less than that because you can play as Venom, and you can play as spoilers, and you can play as Mary Jane. So it's actually that's 25% again. Yep, Insomniac confirmed for woke. Woke trash. Confirmed. That game is actually kind of bad because it's an open world with not much to do, and the story is fine, but parts of it really don't make any sense, and the gameplay is exactly the same as the first one. But the actual problem is that it's woke because black.
Franklin and CJ from Grand Theft Auto.
Look at that again, a Grand Theft Auto. You're doing so good. You're making the argument for me, my dude. I don't know why this was split from the other section. He's literally like, hey, we've got good black video game characters. But wait, aren't there good black video game characters? And he rattles off more black video game characters. Maybe he's going to say these ones are bad, but this seems like it's just a continuation of the other section. I don't know why. If we're just talking about YouTube editing, which I am definitely not an expert on because I have no viewers, you know. If we're just talking about editing the video, this order doesn't make a ton of sense to me. We just split a section for no reason. But maybe he's going to say these ones are actually all bad characters. Or maybe the first one was just focusing on Nintendo specifically? Did he only mention Nintendo characters? He did, I think. So maybe that's a split. It's Nintendo first, and then now it's like all video games.
Matt from Wii Sports. Anthony.
Hell yeah! Matt will f you up. Matt was such a beast in boxing. That's the boy right there. He'll f you up. Mike Tyson from Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. Huh? Or is it just Punch-Out? I don't remember if Mike Tyson's name is in it. But Mike Tyson from Punch-Out.
He Higgs from Metroid Other M. Cap.
I didn't even know that guy was black. Captain Anderson. What is his name? The guy who wants to take off his belt in Halo. You know? That guy. I can do this. I can name all the good black characters. We're getting there. You already pointed out that dude in Bayonetta. Who else do we got? What other classically black characters can we think of? The Arbiter from... Hey, it's like, nah. I think he actually has played... He's played by, what is that? Keith David? Is that one Keith David? Keith David rules. Yes, I believe Keith David is in there. So, Keith David is just awesome. So, put Keith David in more games. That guy... Keith David's not the dude who died, is he? Who's the guy who played... I believe Keith David is 100% alive. That other guy who plays Anderson and what is the guy from Destiny? Destiny voice actor died. Commander Zavala, Lance Reddick. That guy. There you go. He plays this guy and Zavala in Destiny. See? Problem solved, dude. Sounds like we have literally every game has black people in it, and they're overrepresented. We've confirmed this. Come on now, man. Come on now.
Jen Anderson from Mass Effect. Sergeant Johnson from Halo.
That was the guy I was talking about. I couldn't remember his name because I don't play Halo that much. Yeah, Sergeant Johnson. Best quote ever is, "Don't make me take off my belt." That's the good shit. I think he does that if you, like, punch him a bunch or something. I don't remember. But, yeah. He's in it for... I don't know, a good 5-10% of the game, probably, as you interact with him. That's pretty high. It's pretty high. Master Chief could be black. Actually, I think they do show him take off his helmet. I think you see his eyes if you, like, beat it on, like, Legendary without dying. Or I don't know. There's some version of it where you take off his helmet and you see his eyes. So I think he's confirmed for not black. Just like in the show... You see him every scene he's in, he doesn't have his helmet on, and he's white. So, I guess Master Chief doesn't count. But he could have been. He could have been black for the first, like, 3 games, I think. He could have been. That's like in Spider-Man, No Way Home, when Shocker, or Electro, yeah, says he's just disappointed that Peter Parker wasn't black. See? We could have some, what are some masked characters? We could have some masked characters in here that are black, too. You don't know that they're not, right? You don't know that they're not.
50 Cent from 50 Cent.
Hell yeah, 50 Cent from 50 Cent. Blood on the Sand, and what's that, Def Jam Vendetta? What about all those sports games? NFL games, NBA games. Lots of black representation there, you know? That Def Jam Vendetta, I think, is the name of the like fighting game. What about that? Huh? Nearly all of the NBA is black. So every NBA game cranks that ratio right up. Cranks it right up, my dude. Come on now. Lots of people in the NFL are black. I think it's actually probably majority black. I really don't know. I don't look up the stats on this because I don't give a shit. But I'm saying, dude, your argument's getting worse and worse with every statement you make. What's your argument against it? Come on now.
Vince Young from Madden 08.
There you go. See, he pointed it out too. That was clearly like he was memeing on that. But it's more than just Vince Young. I don't know. That's interesting. How many black covers characters were there? Vince Young was on there. I don't remember if Michael Vick ever got a Madden cover. He might have. I believe Donovan McNabb did. I don't know. I don't remember all the Madden covers. The latest one is Josh Allen. Your boy, Josh Allen. He's white, though. I believe Patrick Mahomes has had a cover, and I think he's at least partially black. I really don't know the race of Patrick Mahomes, but I believe he's at least partially black. So there you go, man. Look at it. Case closed. We actually solved it. We solved racism and representation in video games right now. This is what this stream is for.
So many. Isn't that enough for you people? Plus the universe.
You people? I don't like the sound of that. What do you mean, you people?
Southern California did a study in 2009 showing that black characters appear in video games in proportion to their population data in the 2000 US Census.
Oh. Is that right? If that's true, then doesn't that actually just completely destroy his argument of why no black people in video games? This study says there are black people in video games, right? And not only are there, they are well represented. I did not expect that. I hypothesized at the beginning of this stream that it wouldn't be proportional to it. I didn't look it up because I don't have anything. I like to live in ignorance. But this is... That is actually completely changing my mind on this. It's starting to sound like... The list of characters didn't matter. But if this study is actually good, which we don't know that it is, but if this study is actually good, then I don't see like a huge problem in it. Maybe the next argument you could start making is that even though they might be represented well, you could say, well, the NBA and NFL games changed that a lot, which might be fair because that's real life. They're not like new characters; those are real life people in it. So that one might not be the greatest point. So if we're talking about just like original characters, you might say too many of them are stereotypes. That could be the next argument. That's not the title of this video and not what he said so far. So are we going to just completely pivot to a different point? I really did not expect this guy to bring up evidence that so clearly demonstrates that this isn't a problem. Wow, yeah, I'm changing my mind in real time. I'm changing my mind. You can see my mind just expanding.
Well, first off, that study comes with a big asterisk, being that most black characters are from sports games.
Okay, so that's exactly what I said. First of all, show him the Bills. Hell yeah. show the Bills. That's because they're like the cover of Madden right now. But okay, yeah, that if you eliminate sports games, that would change things a lot. That is a big asterisk. I would agree with you there. Because if we're looking for original characters, like I don't know that sports games helps representation much in video games because the representation already exists in the NFL. So the person who's going to play video games, the person who's going to play Madden games, oftentimes isn't like your classic gamer. Like I don't play Madden games. I even watch the NFL. It's most of the time sports fans who are like more casually into video games. Video games might not be one of their primary hobbies. One of their more primary hobbies is paying attention to sports. That's normally the kind of person who seems to buy sports games. I don't know anyone who calls themselves a gamer really, and well, actually no, maybe I know like one or two people who legitimately call themselves a gamer and play like Madden. Actually, yeah, I do. I know a couple, but most people, like all of my friends, have played Pokemon and Skyrim who play games. All of them. Most of them have not played Madden, you know. So the representation there is because the NFL or the NBA is well represented, not because of video games are well represented. But we can still take that in the other way, and if you say like, oh, we've got like a semi-historical but still fictional setting, then white people might be well represented if it's based in Europe, right? Or like, especially like medieval Europe, that would make sense. So if your argument would be against the NFL, I think in some ways, some of the other ones, maybe there wouldn't be a good argument for introducing diversity there.
Games that are, you know, real people, licensed products that are adapted from other
I don't know that licensed products, I don't think that fits into your asterisk super well. Yeah. The main reason I might say that doesn't work is because it's an adaptation. So they can change the character's race at will. You can't make Vince Young white in the NFL. You cannot do that. You can, although there would be a riot. Miles Morales is ultimately a character. You could change him to white if you really wanted to. Like I said, in Magic the Gathering, they changed Aragorn to black. And that's a license thing. So they've changed like characters from male to female in some things. They did that to Thor. That was like a major thing. I'm trying to think. I know in like the MCU they've done this where there's actually just a male character that they just completely changed to female. So since there are adaptations, whereas the NFL is not really Madden is not an adaptation of the NFL. It is a representation, a strict representation of it. Miles Morales, the video game, is an adaptation of Miles Morales, the comic book. So I think your asterisk doesn't apply to licensed stuff. I would be very interested to see if this stat actually is refuted or doesn't work out so well if you take out like NBA and NFL and sports games in general.
Comics, movies, and TV, and in titles and roles that often reinforce stereotypes.
Okay, that one doesn't help your argument of why no black people in video games, but we might be pivoting to like these are bad representations of black people. It maybe the title should be, I don't know if we're going to fully pivot to this, but maybe our bigger point is why no good black characters in video games, right? So I think Franklin was a pretty good character in GTA, but maybe his friend is a bit of a stereotype. I didn't think Franklin was like a huge stereotype. I mean, he had a typical black background, but he seemed like, of the three protagonists, he seemed like the most sane and the most down-to-earth guy, and the other two guys are white guys. Trevor is like a absolute nutcase, and Michael is just like a go-getter businessman, just like cutthroat dude. Franklin just seemed like he wanted to make some money because he's always been poor, and he just wanted to like improve his living situation, and he does some bad on the way to doing that.
He doesn't actually like. He's probably a little bit evil because like everybody in Grand Theft Auto is, but he doesn't seem as evil as like a Trevor or a Michael. So I don't know that Franklin was the worst representation. If he's bad representation for black people, then Michael and Trevor are worse representation for white people.
And my main point is that in many video games, it's almost never the main character, and rarely is there more than one.
Okay, so again, yeah, that is he's pointed out right here. He's pivoting to a different point than his title. So it's almost never the main character, and rarely is there more than one. The more than one argument may or may not work if the representation is still fair. Like if you've got 4 characters in Left 4 Dead and you have 1 black person, is it really a problem that there's only one? No. Like, it may, like, I would just do the percentage. Like, I think you can't always argue, depending on the, subject, like I said, with, not Chivalry, I always forget the fucking Kingdom Come. That one might make sense to keep mostly white people, but if you've got hundreds of characters in a game, then that's set in like modern day America, and there's no black people, that would be wild. That would raise many eyebrows. It would raise my eyebrows. If you have like a slew of playable characters, it would raise some eyebrows if the setting permitted. That none of them were black. That would also be weird. But this is a pivot from his original point. I can go with it, but that's not what your video title says. You wanted clickbait. You wanted the people to argue, hey, you wanted people to make those arguments that you were making. Because those, even with that study, that argument's easy to shoot down. So you wanted the people who are just immediately like, yep, raw representation. And you want the people to be like, nope, there's tons of black people in video games. So that you can go into a deeper thing about why they're bad representation. So it's clickbait. There might be solid substance in here, but the title and the thumbnail are clickbait. Gonna say it 5 minutes in. But that's his thesis. Based on that thesis, it's clickbait. So, yay. I love it when we watch clickbait. Hopefully we can still learn something from it. I don't think it's as bad as a lot of clickbait so far. So hopefully we can still gain some knowledge.
Do you want to play as a black person? Well, your options are limited. In ensemble games like
Hey, see, in ensemble games like fighting games. Yeah, glad he's showing Street Fighter here, because Street Fighter has really good representation, methinks.
Fighting games are usually an international cast and a wide variety of people to play as. In RPGs...
Well, that's good. That's an argument against you. So, I mean, that's exactly what he wants. I don't know that he was bringing up as like a, oh no, this doesn't count because it's a ride diversity. But that's exactly what you're looking for. So hopefully you think that's good.
These that feature a party of people that travel the world, it's a little hit and miss. Dragon Quest.
Okay. Yeah, so he was saying fighting games are normally pretty good. Parties that travel the world, often hit and miss. Okay. All we gotta do to prove this. Well, it won't necessarily prove it. But what we gotta do to really strengthen your argument, so just give a bunch of examples. We're already going into Dragon Quest. I can appreciate that. So let's keep up with examples. Make sure they're actually good. Make sure they actually demonstrate what you're saying. A lot of times people bring up examples that are complete dog shit. But hopefully you'll have some good ones. I'm not super familiar with Dragon Quest. But I wouldn't be surprised if it's not the most representative thing in the entire world. Let's go find out.
0.
Where does the Dragon Quest normally take place? It's like well, I guess it's just a fantasy world, right? I would guess, I'm not saying this is an excuse for it, I would guess that that's because of the demographic makeup of the developers. Not saying that that's good or bad, but that's my guess as to why Dragon Quest might not be
super diverse.
Final Fantasy 1 through 6, Zero Dark.
Yeah. Well, Final Fantasy 1 through 6, those were. I mean, I probably agree with them, but those were made basically for Japanese audiences. I would give old Japanese games a lot more, not credit, but like a lot more leeway in this. Because we were less of a global society, especially Japan. Japan is very insular. So now, originally a lot of games didn't even come to the US. So I wouldn't be surprised if they were making it basically for Japan, because I'm pretty sure that, I don't even know, maybe the first Final Fantasy didn't? I don't know. But Final Fantasy, like, wasn't really made for the US. And then they started being like, oh, there's a new market there. It probably takes a while to adapt to, like, more US sensibilities. So it makes sense that they don't really have dark-skinned people in it. It'd be nice if they do. Fantasy World, no reason they not to. 7 has, I can't remember Homeboy's name, but the dude with the gun arm. He's totally playable main character. So that's cool. I think technically none of the main characters in 7 are white. Maybe that one girl is. The girl with the blonde. I don't know what Cloud is. It doesn't matter to me that much. I don't give that much of a shit. But they might all technically be Japanese. I'm really not sure. Tifa, I believe, is Japanese. I think Cloud would be too. I don't know that girl who dies. But yeah, I think technically there might be more black people in Final Fantasy VII, or at least main characters, than white people. Not quite sure about that one. It's at least ambiguous.
Dark-skinned playable characters, except for Minwoo in 2, who dies. No, I don't count Black Mage.
You shouldn't count Black Mage. We don't actually know what he looks like. I would like to see, not that this completely hurts his point, but I would like to see maybe some Western developed games. There you go, he's got a black person right there. That's that guy I was talking about. Barrett, I think is his name. Didn't play much Final Fantasy VII, so I don't remember everybody's name.
But in Final Fantasy VII, which had a more modern setting than the previous ones, there was Barrett, a Mr. T-inspired environmental freedom fighter who cares deeply about his adopted daughter Marlene.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that Mr. T is like a black stereotype. I'm not sure. But caring deeply about his daughter would actually go against the typical black stereotype of, like, black dads leaving, right? Like, that's always the meme, right? You see those memes all over the place. And I don't think he's a harmful stereotype in any way, so I hope you're not going to argue that he is.
He's a great character
in
the remake. In the original...
Oh, okay, in the remake. I haven't played the original. Let's find out what he is in the original.
I liked him, but he came off as the stereotypical angry black man. But since then, there have been more.
Well, I don't know if... yeah, I can't say too much. I don't know that it's a problem. If you have a black character who's just angry, I don't know if that's just like immediately like a stereotype. Yeah, that one. To me, it would depend on what he's angry about. Like if he's just like angry that people stepped on his shoes all the time or something, then I'll be like, okay, we're getting racist up in here. But like, I don't know, if he's angry that people killed his family or something, he's just like really jaded by the world, that would make sense, right? That doesn't seem to fit into a stereotype. That's just correct character. So I don't know. I don't know enough about Barrett in OG Final Fantasy VII to actually comment on that. But I definitely wouldn't say just being angry would be enough of a stereotype. But then again, I don't know if you noticed this. I'm gonna show you something. I'm white, so I'm not affected by the stereotypes very much. So maybe he's more affected by it than I am. Well, he definitely is, but maybe he would be more affected by that being in a black character than I would be.
Like Heroes in 8, Saz in 13, not a single person in 15
A single person in Final Fantasy 15. Okay. I bet there's a lot of black people in Final Fantasy 14. Especially because you're making your own characters, everybody running around. But I would guess that there's probably a lot of black NPCs. There's probably just like 1 million NPCs in that game. So I would guess that a lot of them are black. I don't know, though. But he is kind of showing, especially with the Final Fantasy example, that while this was bad, it's definitely improving, right? Because Barrett is way more fleshed out than he used to be. So that would be a strong improvement. And he's talking about more characters in later Final Fantasy games. So while, yeah, I guess if you're playing a lot of retro games, it seems like new games are doing pretty good. Right? Especially because, like, all the representation he was talking about, with his big, long list of black characters, those were, like, modern games. So... And, yeah, I just really... In order to see if that's actually true... I would like to take out the asterisk of sports games in that study, and I would really like to see what the number is after that, because I think that actually would just clearly demonstrate it. I don't like the adaptation argument, at least as far as like just are there black characters in games. I don't like the adaptation argument, and then saying they're characters is a separate. Related, but completely separate argument. So, yeah. Just want to see what it would be like then.
And this dude in the recent Kill Chaos Simulator. But again, none of these characters could be considered the main character, and while...
Yeah, well, there might be no... the main character. That's probably mostly true. I don't know how many... would be considered the main character. So yeah, you could change this to why no black main characters in video games. That would be a much more accurate, less clickbaity title. That would be better in my opinion. But it's not, as, like I said, it's probably gets a lot less clicks, a lot less rage inducing. Because people have the immediate counters. So they click on this video saying, hey, f*** you, I got all the counters. And it's like, haha, I did a bamboozle switcheroony. I'm talking about something else.
one is better than none, they're the only one in games with dozens of characters.
Yeah, if it's actually dozens of characters, then that argument might stand. But again, judging by that study that you brought up, it may not be a problem with the asterisk of sports games. I'm gonna stop saying the asterisk of sports games. I'm gonna assume you guys remember I said that. So it may not be a problem because of that study. It's tough to say. Individual examples help your argument, but they don't prove it. They only help it.
Why can't there be two?
I mean, there can be two. I don't disagree with you there.
Well,
There we go. I don't know if that's copyrighted. I'm not monetized, but don't want to get hit if I ever do get monetized. You know, gotta protect yourself.
Xenoblade Chronicles 1 had multiple characters in the game of varying skin complexions.
That's good. Yep, good. The main character is white and or Japanese, though. So I think we're gonna have a problem with that. Our character is so smart. So
Xenoblade Chronicles X's real main character was Elma. I would say more about Elma, but
oh, a real main character. I don't know anything about Xenoblade Chronicles, but okay. The real main character was that person, then we're doing pretty good.
spoilers. And Xenoblade 2 had Vandom. Who dies? Like in
Having a black character die is totally fine. People die. So, yeah, I don't see an issue there.
an hour after he joins. Alright.
An hour after he joins. Okay, so if that's fair and being like, yeah, he's in it, but is he really? It wouldn't be great representation if he just immediately goes away. So, I'd agree there.
Hey, I'm gonna head out. In many games, you instead create your own character. Wow, this character creator is great. As long as they're not trying to make a black person.
Yeah, so this is also a different argument than why no black people. Oh, there's a Dargan. Yeah, this is also not no black characters in video games. This I am getting further and further into the title is clickbait. I believe now more than ever that we have a clickbait title. The old bait and switch bamboozle switcheroony, okay?
Many players like to create a character that somewhat resembles themselves. Not everyone does this, but many people do. Most character creators let you change your skin color, with the exception of Fire Emblem. Why do you have to look like this when your in-game dad looks like this? And the original Animal Crossing, where if you wanted your character to have dark skin, you had to have a Game Boy Advance, have a Game Boy Advance GameCube
Okay, yeah, this is getting wild. Let's see what we got.
link cable. Connect your Game Boy Advance to your GameCube using a Game Boy Advance to GameCube link cable. Get on Captain's Boat, listen to the song, go to the island, wait around for an hour on the island, then your character will have a tan for a couple of days.
Oh, it's a tan. They're not actually dark skinned. Okay, yeah, all of that is like funny, but like this actually doesn't even. It doesn't argue against him or for him. Well, yeah, I mean, I guess it's mostly an argument for him. It's just this character creator doesn't even support dark-skinned people, period.
I know this because my mom loved Animal Crossing and would do this once a week because she wanted to play as a character that looks more like her. Thankfully, skin color
I kind of doubt that, but maybe.
options are in pretty much every recent game, at least the ones that I've seen. However,
I know, we're going to talk about hair. So, yeah, this does seem to happen somewhat, but this happens to me a lot too. There are very little hairstyles that actually match my hairstyle, which is weird because I have a pretty standard hairstyle. But there's a lot of games where I was just like, I just can't. I don't know why, but I have to have like long flowing hair or almost none. Like, there's a lot of games like that. It's not as bad for me as it probably is for black people, I would guess. But it seems like these are getting better and better. Especially anime games. I can't make a character that looks anything like me in anime games. Just never. They always look weird. They're not weird, but they look like they have long, flowy, spiky, or something anime hair. You know, it's just never looks like me. I don't look like an anime character, so this, yeah, I mean, this does affect all people. I don't know, mine might not be racially based. Yeah, it doesn't seem like there's too many games that have darker skin colors but don't have hair, like traditionally black hairstyles. Maybe I'm completely wrong, but I normally scan through every, at least hair option to figure out hair that looks good for my characters. And I see ones that I think would fit traditionally black hairstyles. But that's totally anecdotal. But I'm going to guess he doesn't have any data to back up that this doesn't work for him either.
hairstyles are another story. There will usually be dozens of options of hairstyles available. Common ones.
That Pokemon one they just showed, the side thing. That was the one that I used because there wasn't any that looked like my hair either. And I normally make characters that try to at least look like me. A lot of times I make them maybe a little more buff, you know. Maybe a little bit more hair. My hairline's receding a little bit. But like, I normally don't want a hairstyle that's drastically different from mine. Normally, it depends.
Anime ones, wacky ones. But if you want a hairstyle with that type 3 and 4 hair, I don't know the proper term for it. Black people hair.
I also don't know the proper term for it. Yes, black people hair.
Something that is traditionally of cultural significance to the black community.
I guess the difference would be, a lot of these games have, like, the hair is similar to my, like, texture and color is similar to mine, whereas there isn't ones that are texture and color are similar to black people hair in games. Whereas mine, it's like they just don't have, like, the right styling, maybe, or the right length. Maybe that's the difference. That would make sense. I don't know how true it is, but that would make sense.
Then your options, if any, are usually buzz cut, afro, and... Who?
Well, cornrows, it's fine, right?
It's cool to have it. I don't know why we're memeing so hard on cornrows, but it's totally cool to have in games, right?
Who do you know who's rocking cornrows? No, I want names. Looking like a little
I don't think I know anybody anymore, admittedly, but yeah, I definitely did. You know, I know this is like a meme, but it's based on his experience that like people just don't have cornrows anymore, right? So I don't know. People have cornrows, don't they? Or no? I really don't know. I don't know about the style of today, so I'm not the person. But I have seen plenty of people with cornrows. Maybe it's just outdated now. I'm old and out of fashion, so maybe I'm out of touch. No, it's the children who are wrong, to quote Principal Skinner. Wrong button.
Bow Wow. The fact is, many people like to create.
Does Bow Wow still have it? I would guess he does. Well, I don't know. But like, I don't know, the fact that you have a culturally significant, well, I don't know how significant Bow Wow is. A famous person, at the least. Ludacris used to have cornrows. I couldn't tell you what he's rocking now. I don't pay attention to, you know. I don't know, I thought people had cornrows. Maybe I'm crazy.
Create characters that look a certain way, especially when that way is not present in over 95% of games. Still,
I doubt it's over 95% of games. There's no way. That sounds insane to me. Maybe I'm wrong. I know he pulled that stat out of his ass, so I'm gonna pull my rebuttal out of my ass and say no. I'm gonna say it's not found in 60% of games. Blair just made up a stat. So, and when it's like that big of a difference, we're both pulling things out of our ass, then your argument isn't very good. Like, yeah, is my 60% right? I don't know. Probably not, but it's just as right as his 95%.
the lack of options here is a little disappointing, but to be fair,
It's a little disappointing if you honestly think it's 95%. Yeah, I doubt it. But, yeah, I suppose if it is 95%, that'd be really disappointing. You're going to need to... Citation needed, my guy.
some recent games do have black hair options, or at least have patched them in later. And
Well, that's good, right? Yeah, so we seem to be improving. Also, his 95% number, is he just going to count like all games forever and ever? Which is, I guess it's not unfair, but if we're moving in the right direction, then like you kind of want to, I think you would want to contain this criticism more to recent games, because we can't do anything about the old games, right? So if you're saying it's still like this, then that's a problem. Like, yeah, I guess you can talk about it from a historical perspective, but you wouldn't say this is still a problem. Anyway, yeah, you can talk about it from a historical perspective, but if you're talking about a problem that exists in today's society, I don't know that that's a fair one. Because it's just like, well, what are we going to do? There's nothing, a critique that, like, doesn't, that we can't do anything about isn't super useful.
I don't need to feel represented in every game I play.
Okay. You don't need to feel represented in every game you play. Well, good. Because you're probably not.
I don't always try to create myself in character creators because I usually can't. And
Yeah, I mean, I usually can't create that close to me. I might be able to get closer to him, so fair enough, I guess.
I'm not gonna be like,
There's not a single black person in Kirby, therefore is racist.
but there's
Well, that's good. Because I don't know that there's any white people in Kirby either. So, I'm right there with you, man. More racial representation in Kirby. I don't know what pink is, but it ain't my skin color.
definitely more to be desired. Which is best, man. You mostly talk about Japanese games. Of course there aren't a lot of black people in Japanese games. There's no black people in Japan.
Yeah, so that's kind of what I was saying. That doesn't mean if they're facing, if they're like trying to appeal to a global audience that they shouldn't do it, but that would that would at least make sense, you know? It would be, it's a reason, not an excuse.
Well, I would say that if you're making an international game marketed to an international audience translated into multiple languages, it's sometimes weirder when they're not there.
Yeah, I mean, I mostly agree with that point. It does sound like my main issue would be like you were talking about older games that were not made. They didn't have the international audience in mind. And then you seem to switch to newer games and then said that it mostly did do a pretty good job.
Or when there's only one. Footage unrelated. Also, what are you talking about? There's Japanese black people. But what about...
There's Japanese black people. Yeah, there is. Not many. I don't know what the demographic of Japan is. I'm pretty sure that the demographic makeup of Japan has less black people than America does. I'd look it up, but I like to just claim that's more fun for me, okay? I like to just pull out of my ass.
about Western games? Welcome to the Western AAA video game industry.
Okay. I'm gonna guess that they're doing a hell of a lot better than Japan. It seems like we had a bunch of examples. Maybe not, if there's only one main character, maybe not too many games with like just the main playable protagonist is black. I might give you that. But I doubt it's like a huge problem. I would have guessed that it was actually less than representation, but the that study seemed to show otherwise. And the only thing I would discount is sports games. So and they're probably not even statistically significant. So that'd be my guess.
Where we feature entirely unique protagonists in our games with wholly original designs. Are these?
Yeah. So protagonists, I'll give them that. Again, no black people in video games. This is what it probably should be. There's no good, significant black characters in video games, right? That's his actual argument, right? And maybe I agree. Not 100% sure.
Not all the same person? Look, am I accusing all these game developers of being racist? Other than some of their hiring practices? Of course not. This is...
Yeah, there would be an issue if their hiring practices are racist. I don't actually know that they are. I didn't see the thing, and I don't feel like going back. Because that's not the main focus of the video. But if they were racist in their hiring practices, then that would probably... start showing in the makeup of their games too. People tell stories and create like worlds with people that look like them a lot of times. It's pretty common. So less voices asking for black people or saying, hey, I want somebody like me or whatever, means you're less likely to have those things.
more a symptom that's endemic to Western media as a whole, not just video games.
Yeah, maybe. I'm not entirely sure.
There's a lot of money going into these productions, so more often than not, they're going to play it safe in their design decisions. And
yeah, they would play it safe in their design decisions.
what's safe is usually the tried and true.
Oh yeah, so you were saying like they want to yes, Brack. Not only, well, you're not racist against black people, but that's incredibly racist against Asian people, dude. Why you speak like that? You're so bad, man. So bad. Okay. So yeah, so they would want to play it safe and like include the biggest demographic, right? But they definitely wouldn't want to make any sizable demographic excluded. So it would make sense to at least include a couple of black people in them. There are definitely films that have mostly black people, like the Medea films and shit like that. There are films that have mostly Asian people in them, like the Crazy Rich Asians. Can't think of too many with like mostly like Mexican or Latin, Latino / Latina, Latinx, if that's your thing. I don't really give a shit about Latina versus Latinx because I'm not that. But there might be a few of the films like that. So yeah, it definitely does make sense that even if they're not racist, there's no racial motivation. It's just like, no, we're gonna include the biggest thing, like biggest demographic gets the most attention. Is it fair? Not really, but it just kind of is a fact of the matter. So it's good again that he's not just saying, "Hey, you guys are racist." He understands that there might be reasons for it to be like this. But we are seeing more and more representation pop out. Like we've got, not that things are perfect, but we've got Black Panther, of course. That's got 2 movies. We've got, I think that's Simu Liu right there. It looks like him. I'm not sure. Maybe all Asian looks like. Am I doing a racism? I'm trying not to do a racism, but that definitely looks like Simu Liu. Well, we've got, why can't I think of that? Shang-Chi. So it seems to be getting a little bit better. Got Blade is supposed to come out, but Marvel sucks. I did say these 2 Marvel movies, and they suck, so, you know. We had Finn. He wasn't the main character, but he had him. His character was dog shit, but then again, so was Rey's, and she was white. So we're all equal there. But he was definitely, I would say he's the second main character in the new Star Wars films. I don't know which character would have a more, like, would take second place. Rey is clearly the main character, but, like, he had a whole plot line around him, right? In episode 7 and episode 8, he was mostly along for the ride in episode 9 because he's a wasted character and a dog shit. I hate him. I hate the fact that they made him so bad, and that he had such a cool potential for being a stormtrooper that defected, and they used none of that. Terrible. But yeah, he's representation, at least. Not good representation, but nobody's represented good in Star Wars, but he is representation. I would say the OG Black Panther was good representation. I don't really like the new girl. I find her mostly annoying because she talks down to people who are incredibly smart, like Bruce Banner. Not directly to Tony Stark, but she did make fun of him too. So I find her mostly annoying. But, you know, she's there.
True, and what the tried and true is to have a short-haired white male protagonist probably shooting a gun.
Yeah, I mean, it does seem to work, especially in video games. But that would, as long as we keep trying it, you know, as long as we keep trying other types of protagonists, if people just aren't buying them, that would be a reflection on society and not on the game companies themselves. Like, you can't really blame them for doing the tried and true thing. I think they do have something of, I don't know if it would be a moral imperative, but I think they have an imperative to keep trying new things and exploring and seeing if there are other avenues, because that would be part of the market they could fill. But if they keep trying and then that market keeps not getting filled, like nobody's buying, then yeah, I'm sorry, but society just isn't structured that way, and we need to work on the rest of society, not on the games themselves.
Because in their mind, that's what's guaranteed to turn the most profit. Yeah, it turns out that capitalism was the true final boss all along.
Dang, going against capitalism. Yeah, I mean, capitalism is at least democratic in that way. It's not entirely democratic because advertising is a hell of a drug. Everybody's affected by it. So it's not, well, I mean, I guess that's not democratic, but there are a lot of outside influences, I guess. People don't make objective decisions in capitalism because it's really tough to do. But yeah, that still is Yeah, it's not an issue with the video games. It would be more an issue with society. He did say they believe that. I would guess that it's backed up by data. These marketing and like designing of like AAA games is absolutely like these are data-driven decisions. The data can lie, but or maybe not lie, but you can misinterpret the data or use the wrong data. But yeah, that would be. It seems like it's more of a reflection on the market. So I bet these are backed up by at least significant data.
Hey guys, it's me, famous game designer David Jaffe. If you could go into a nightclub and murder a bunch of minorities for a platinum trophy, in a video game of course, would you do it?
Jesus. Okay. If you were playing and loving an open world game and there was an easy automatic platinum PS trophy for going into a minority-filled Jew, Black, LGBT, Muslim nightclub and killing all the minority NPCs, would you do it? If it was a game I loved, I don't really chase trophies. If I was chasing trophies, yeah, I'd do it. Like, whatever. If it was a game I loved, I wouldn't... If I chase trophies, period, I would do it. If it's a game I really loved and I wanted to get the platinum trophies for, I would still do it. I don't chase trophies. I do go for platinums occasionally for games I really loved. I tried to get the platinum in Elden Ring, got f***ed over because I didn't know that I screwed myself out of a boss in the lane though. But would I do that? Yeah. Ultimately, it's video games. No, it doesn't matter like that. It's a weird thing to include in the video game. I would criticize the video game for like doing this specific thing unless it was really like made sense narratively, which I'm not. There could be a reason to do that, like to make you feel bad. Like in what the f is that? Spec Ops: The Line, they make you do bad actions to make you feel bad and think about your stuff. So if that's the objective, then yeah, there's like, what's the argument there? I'm just like, that's the point of it, is to make you feel bad and think about your own actions. So yeah, sure, I'd give it a shot. If I wasn't chasing it, I probably just wouldn't end up doing this naturally. I might accidentally do it because I'm just exploring and then, I don't know, they attack me, so I just start wiping them out. But this isn't something I would seek out generally, unless I really wanted that trophy or just really loved the game. I have to just really want the trophy, either because I'm a trophy hunter or because I really love the game. So I don't have any moral quandaries with doing it because I play video games to do things that I wouldn't do in real life. So I don't know why the like in Grand Theft Auto I massacre people in a like massacre cops and civilians and rob stores. I'm not gonna do that. So what would make this so much worse? Just because they're minorities? Like, I don't give a shit. Really? Like I said, I would question why it's in the game, but like, ultimately, it's not a moral statement on me. Like, I play games to do things that I wouldn't do in real life, including, in fact, almost exclusively immoral. Not maybe not almost exclusively, but very much including immoral actions. Especially if I'm playing like if I'm role playing, like I'm playing Dungeons and Dragons or something, and I have like, I don't know, elf character that just really hates I don't know, tieflings or something. Yeah, I would probably murder a whole bunch of tieflings. Like, granted, that's a fantasy race, but like, it's the same thing ultimately. You can role play a racist in a video game. That doesn't mean you're gonna be racist, you know? I mean, it's also like is it a strange question? I think it's a fair question to ask, too. He's really asking, like, it feels like he's asking, are you okay with doing something that is obviously immoral and wrong, just because you're in a video game? Or if you're okay with that, is there a line for you? Which seems like a fair question to me. I don't know. Maybe I'm the crazy one. I get why you might cringe a little bit at it, but I don't know. It seems like a reasonably fair question.
Just because you think of a tweet doesn't mean you have to hit the send button. That's not.
Yeah, but like, what's the actual wrong? Can't a anti-racist person make the same tweet just to like get a temperature on gamers? You know, it's at least somewhat fair to ask that question, even if you have no racist bones in your entire body, right? Because you might just be trying to research, like, okay, like, how do gamers actually feel about an action like this? Or maybe, like, you were thinking of exploring it in a game that you played. So you'd be like, okay, is this something worth exploring? Maybe I might be onto something interesting here. Let me see what the discussion that comes from me asking this is. I think we should be charitable. And not in... We can think of reasons, non-racist reasons, to ask a question like this. So I think charitability would be the name of the game here. You did really good at not assuming that game developers who don't have a ton of black people in their game are racist. You did great there. Not certain you're being super charitable here.
Not even how platinum trophies work. As many of you already know, I do not like or respect the Game Awards, but...
Well, it's not how platinum trophies work. Like, you don't get one trophy. But if that's one of the trophies on the way to getting the platinum trophy, then why would that could be how it worked, right? It's just kill all the people in this building, and they're all minorities. Also, what if you're a minority in that game? Right? You could be a minority in the game, and then it wouldn't be racist. Well, I guess it could be racially motivated, but it's not. It's a little different, right? All right, so I think we're looking for
other people do, so here...
Yeah, but I really don't appreciate how uncharitable he was to Jaffe's inquiry there. I know a lot of people don't like Jaffe, so maybe I could understand why you wouldn't be charitable to him if he has made a bunch of questionable tweets before. And I know this could be the just asking questions meme, but I don't know. It really just doesn't seem that crazy to me. I think a little bit of charity would go a long way, but I would understand if he's been like a huge piece of shit before, which I don't know that he has. Maybe charitability isn't good. But I don't think that's the phenomenon happening here.
Here's a list of the Game of the Year nominees that feature a black person as the main protagonist in the past 8 years.
Well, unfortunately this video is 1 year old. So a black person as the main protagonist, I believe, in Game of the Year, because Spider-Man 2 was nominated. So Miles Morales would absolutely fit that bill. He's half black, half Puerto Rican, so he would be right in there with the rest of them. Of other ones, I don't remember all the Game Awards people, so we'll have to figure that out. Maybe
Of the show's existence.
it was Deathloop. I saw it. You tried to hide it. I saw. Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, Deathloop. There you go. That's an example. Cool.
Yeah, that's it.
I don't know what the so if we're doing the 15% meme, so we need every, let's see, if 1% is 10, so yeah, every 15 games. We'd have to have one, right? Yeah, so 10% would be 1 out of 10. 20% would be, yeah, so it's 15. 1 out of 15 games would have to have a black main protagonist in order for it to be equal to the population, right? So I think there's 5 or so games nominated for the Game of the Year every year, right? I believe it's 5. If it would be in 3 years, we should get 1, right? How many did he say? Let's go back.
Many of you already know, I do not like or respect the Game Awards, but other people do, so here's a list of the Game of the Year nominees that feature a black person as the main protagonist in the past 8 years.
Okay, so he said 8 years. So the point looks like it'll stand. The math checks out. So we got to do, that would be almost 3 we should be at after 8 years. So okay, maybe.
Of the show's existence. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I mean, that's somewhat fair point. I'm sure there's games with significant amount of black people that are nominated, but it's a fair point that the main character at least isn't black, so it's at least not representative. And it also supports the actual title of the video and not his remix thesis.
That's the only one, and it was this year! Again, I don't need to see a Captain Planet-style racial spectrum in the roster of...
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you don't have to have it in every game, which I agree you don't, or, yeah, that would mean in order to offset the fact that we don't have that, you would need games that are, like, primarily black people, right? Not that that's a problem, but if you're saying you don't need the whole rainbow of skin colors and everything, then you would need to. Sorry, I kind of got. Yeah, then you would need to if you for every one game that has all white people in it, you need another game of similar size that has, or not for every one, but for every 15. Games has like all white people in it, you need a game that has all black people in it. I know they're gonna come in all percentages and stuff, but in order to like meet the quota, that's what you would have to do if we're not going full rainbow on all of them.
Every video game or every show or movie I watch. But I don't know, as a lifelong black person, of course I'm a little biased, but it's a little weird. I'm sure it's something that most people don't...
Yeah, I mean, the Game Award thing is a little weird, and maybe the protagonist thing is a little weird. And I think the Game Awards is actually a pretty good... If we don't have date on it, I think the Game Awards demonstrating that... oh, hello. I think the Game Awards demonstrating that at least popular games is a fair enough thing. We could also go by, like, Metacritic or something like that, too, right? But I think that's a fair enough thing if we don't have data, which I don't think we do on this. So... It's at least enough to ask the question why this is happening, right? It's at least enough. It doesn't prove that there's an issue, but it is enough to start questioning things and be like, hey, I noticed this issue. I don't know that it 100% is like a huge problem or anything, but getting a little... Got a little bit of a question mark going on here.
Ever think about, but it crosses my mind sometimes when creative works are like, we're going to create a multi-continent spanning epic tale featuring dozens of fictional characters. Oh hey, that's cool. And everyone's white.
Yeah, I mean, that's not... You have actually proven that that's not the case with that study, right? So, I don't know. That's strange. The argument you were just making is that protagonists aren't there. So, not everyone's white, and you've said as much. So that's a bit of a strange one.
Wait, what?
Have y'all heard of the Bechdel test for women in media?
Yes, I've heard of the Bechdel test. It is an interesting thing to me. I don't know that it proves anything, but it is kind of a fun meme. It's shocking to me how many pieces of media don't actually pass the Bechdel test. Because I'm sure an inverse Bechdel test for men would not be an issue. The Bechdel test is has to have at least 2 named women in it who talk to each other about something besides a man. If you had at least 2 men in it who talk to each other about something besides a woman, damn near every piece of media would pass it, right? So it's an interesting little, like, I don't know, metric. It doesn't necessarily mean anything, but it is an interesting thing to at least make you think, you know?
It wasn't meant as a standard that work should go out of their way to meet, but more of a thought experiment to discuss gender representation in media.
Yeah, I think that's totally fine. I think it is useful as a thought experiment. It doesn't prove or disprove too much, I don't think. We probably need something deeper than this, but it's definitely an interesting thought experiment. I appreciate it as such.
Well, I propose the Blackdol test for black and dark-skinned people. Here's the test.
Blackdol test is a fun name, but you should name it after yourself. Call it the Astronaut test. There you go.
Test 1. Are there at least 2 black people?
Sure.
That's it! That's the whole test!
That would mean that most of them... You don't even have to have named ones? That means most media nowadays would absolutely... almost all of it. Especially video games. Or maybe not especially video games. But video games would be passing. What?! God! This close! You, God!
Everyone was black in a world that didn't take place in either Africa or the hood. People would be like, why is everyone black? But then when everyone's white, no one ever asked.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. But that would be because of our demographics. You're way more likely to see a group of only white people, and not even any racial thing, just like happenstance, because we are the majority in most of the countries that consume games and make games. You're way more likely to see a group of only white people than you are to see a group of only black people. So it is just way more weird to have only black people in a thing. It just be like that. The statistics make that what it is. He's literally showing, 30.9%. So you're just way more likely. Actually, I guess in New York City, that would be strange. Yep, 20% black, 30% white. You're not way less likely in New York City. In America, you are. In Seattle, you definitely are. No question. But New York City is not representative of America, or Europe, or Japan. So, yeah, one just set in New York City, that would be very strange. And we wouldn't need to argue super hard if the movie only had black people in it. It wouldn't be as strange. I agree, but in most contexts, it would be very strange.
It's just assumed to be the norm.
Why are you white? Oh my god, Karen, you can't just ask people why they're white.
You can't. That's very, as a white, if you ask me that, I'm deeply offended. It really hurts my feelings. Yeah, ask me that.
But I can. Why is it this way? Representation matters, especially in media. Here are quotes.
You can ask why characters are white. You can't ask an individual why they're white. Not that it's actually, I don't know. It just doesn't, it's nonsensical to ask people why they're white.
Quotes from people much more learned than me in this subject you can pause and read. And it's easy for some people to say that representation doesn't matter when
I missed the quotes.
You've been represented by 99% of all media.
If you think if you don't think representation matters, you're probably well represented. That seems to be probably true, right? It doesn't affect me as much because I'm reasonably well represented as a straight cis white male or whatever. Yeah, I mean, I mostly agree with that. I like to see people who face struggles that I do for whatever reason. So yeah.
Ever. All I'm saying is, I've been to over 100 Division I college basketball games. I was in the band. And I've never seen the mostly white crowd go wilder than when the one white boy on the team scores a pivotal three-pointer.
I don't know if that's a meme or whatever it is. I have never seen... I don't go to basketball games. I have never seen some like that. That's a wild statement. I know he said he's making jokes. That didn't sound like one. That was just a really strange anecdote to bring up. I just doubt that happened. People just go really wild when their team does well. It definitely doesn't happen in the NFL. Like, I've never seen that. I've been to more NFL games than I have NBA games, so it doesn't happen there.
So don't tell me representation doesn't matter to anyone. As it turns out,
There's no way that that's true. I just don't believe that that happens. I just don't believe it.
the majority skin color is usually seen as the default in that region, and anything else is a variation from the norm. In Western
That's true. I mean, it is a variation from the norm. Oh, no, I guess it's not a variation from the norm. It's just not really surprising. Because, like, the norm would be you see 15% black people or whatever, right? That would be the norm. So I guess that's a variation, but, like, any representation wouldn't be a variation from the norm, right?
media, light skin is viewed as the default, and any variation from that is viewed as an optional exception. But
I don't know that it's viewed as optional. It's just, yeah, I guess it's just not as common. I guess if you say normal as in like it's not common, then yeah, that would just be true, right? I don't know that I don't think anyone views it as optional.
But regardless of where you
Having the majority in your media is optional, right? Black people isn't any more optional than white people.
live, there is no default skin tone. Well, human life did start in Africa, so technically if there were to be a default, it would be... Anyways, when you... I don't know.
I think the default would actually be Asian skin tone, because I think that they actually make up the most people in the world. Or it might even be Indian. These things are so
Try to mix up
annoying.
the colors for once. You get cries of...
Forced diversity
and...
virtue signaling.
Yeah, I mean, some of those cries are not warranted. I agree. Just having black people in a game is not forced diversity. It can be. It can be. I think the Kingdom Come thing, complaining about not having black people in it, was people were trying to force diversity. So it's not that it's never a good argument, but just because there's black people, it's not forced diversity. I agree.
Maybe it's not forced diversity. Maybe it's this piece of media stars people, so the people will be reflective of people.
Yeah, that's good. But again, if you're talking about video games and saying that there's no black people in it, that study that you brought up says that there is. With one caveat that I don't think would be statistically significant. So, yeah. Sure.
If you were making a story about, I don't know, bunnies, you wouldn't make them all white bunnies. You'd probably use other colors of bunnies, right?
Yeah, probably. But if I make a story about medieval Europe, I'd probably use all white people. If I was making a story about, I don't know, some African country, I'm probably going to use mostly, or if not all, black people. If I'm making, like, Hotel Rwanda, if I'm making that, it depends on the subject matter, right? If you're making it about Americans, I probably would make it pretty mixed. Unless it's about, like, I don't know, a very segregated area that just doesn't have those people in it. The context would matter a lot in this case, I think.
So why is it different with people? You have all these different colors to choose from.
It would be different based on the context. It shouldn't... There are cases where it is strange if you choose just one race. I would agree. But there's cases where it's strange if you don't. So there's probably more cases where it's strange to choose one race, period.
Yet many creatives consistently choose these ones, and I go, I wonder why that is.
Yeah, it just depends. But it doesn't sound like, again, it doesn't sound like it's actually happening that much. Based on that one study. Maybe just the whole cast, it doesn't seem like we can make that argument. Protagonists, we might be able to. Judging by the Game Awards thing, which I think is a fair enough argument with a lack of data.
So it's not forced diversity, it's any sort of variety having never been previously considered in the first place. Many recent game titles...
Yeah. Maybe. Yeah. It sounds like he's even going to say we're going to start solving this because he's talking about recent game titles. So let's see what we say there.
have tried to break away. Well, I'd be remiss if I failed to mention that indie games, the last bastion of integrity and creativity in the games industry, have been doing it for years.
Yeah, I think it's weird when people say that. There's lots of integrity and creativity in the AAA space. There's lots of, not that, there's lots of just money grubbing and shit, but like, to say that like all AAA games, like there's a lack of creative AAA games, I think is absurd. There's so many games coming out that fit so many genres and so many different people's tastes. I don't know, that's just really strange to me. Like, are you gonna say Alan Wake isn't creative? I doubt it. Spider-Man 2, while derivative, is reasonably creative. Maybe not so much Diablo. Starfield is sorta. It's really, really similar to old ones. I guess Street Fighter isn't that creative, but it's made by the people who like defined fighting, like 2D fighting games. Hi-Fi Rush, super creative, you know. So yeah, I find those statements odd. Granted, this was made a year ago, but like I don't know, I don't think last year was that much worse. When I say like 2022, I don't think it was that much worse.
But major titles have begun to do it, which...
Yeah, they've begun to do it. Well, it doesn't sound like they even begun. It sounds like they already had been.
Which of course leads to comments from gamers, well, gamers, like,
Another great franchise ruined by SJWs.
Yeah, I agree that some of those comments are pretty dumb. It's okay to have diversity in games.
Trying to earn woke points by pushing their agenda of acknowledging minorities exist. Horizon Forbidden West, it's so unrealistically diverse.
I would love for you to expand on what you mean by that.
Yeah, I don't know why Horizon Zero West, I think is what he said. Horizon Forbidden West, or Horizon Zero Dawn couldn't have diverse characters. It might be a little strange if it's just like there's one white person. I don't know what the makeup of it is, but that might be a little strange. It's just like it is set in America, but it is also the far future. So I don't really have a strong opinion on what the racial makeup of a Horizon Forbidden West should be. So even if like race was something I really cared about, it seems like it's really difficult to argue that one because of how different of a society it actually is.
Apex Legends had multiple minorities in its roster, which led to comments like this. Hang on, let me get my white person voice.
You're gonna be able to find people who do all these comments anyway. You're gonna be able to find all the people who say like something isn't diverse enough despite being like super diverse, and you're gonna be able to find people who say, oh no, this is woke bullshit. It's whether or not this is happening at like a really big level and lots of people are making these arguments. That would be like what we'd be worried about. You're always going to be able to find any idiot with any point of view. So just picking out of your comment section or whatever would be not very useful. Find some popular ones. Maybe if you do some really retweeted or some really upvoted stuff, that would be like a good argument, maybe. Let's see what you got.
What's ready?
Video games going out of their way to...
It's 31 points. This is not a major thing. You'll also get both at the same time, honestly. Both at the same time, honestly. Both what? Oh, you mean like, oh, there's not enough diversity and there's too much, or there's not enough diversity and there's too much diversity in one game? Yeah, absolutely. You'll absolutely get both of those at the same time.
Be inclusive in order to appeal to the smallest subset of their user base is ridiculous.
Yeah, but this is not a highly upvoted thing. This is not. You're in r/unpopular opinions. That happens with Final Fantasy 16. Yeah, I didn't pay too much attention to Final Fantasy 16. So yeah, I'm sure it did. It seems to happen all over the place. Honestly, you find idiots on both extremes. It's just Just the nature of the internet. This is posted in r/unpopular opinion, and it doesn't even have that many upvotes. This is not a useful metric to say that this is a big thing that's happening all over the place.
People who play video games are mainly straight white males. Now let's look at Apex Legends, the new game published by EA.
Yeah, it's just, yeah, you're gonna find, yay, the seal on the rise is open, we did it, Reddit. You're just gonna find idiots with all of these opinions, man. And this isn't an unpopular one. So, I mean, yeah, I guess if your goal is just to attack one Reddit user, then sure. But I don't... This doesn't tell me that there's just a load of people doing this.
Hey, there is only one white dude in the whole lineup of characters. He's locked initially, and his abilities are toxic. Can't make this shit up.
It is kind of funny. It's not a good argument, but it is kind of funny. Is that actually true? I didn't notice that there was only one white dude. I don't remember. I did play Apex when it first launched. They're talking about that toxic guy who lays the traps and shit. Or barrels or whatever the f he lays. I don't remember. Yeah, I didn't notice that he was the only white guy, and he does have poison abilities. I know who they're talking about. I just don't remember if there's other white guys. So that's kind of funny, but it's not a good point. But Reddit seems to agree. 31 karma is nothing. I guess it is unpopular opinion, so if nobody agreed, it should be higher voted, but that's definitely not how that subreddit works. Congratulations, you're beating the living out of this one idiot. You're doing it. I'm proud of you, buddy.
And whenever you see statements like this, there's always one word that tells on them.
I have no issue with females and blacks being in game.
You said one word, and now you're saying a whole sentence that this guy said. Yeah, if you're saying a whole sentence after saying there's always one word, is it just going to be issue? No issue? Let's see what the one word is after you tell us the sentence.
But.
Oh, okay, it's the butt. Yeah, I mean, the big stinky butt can get you. It's true. The big stinky butt can ruin the first parts of the thing, but again, this is just some random on Reddit. I guarantee Reddit is more full of people who want diversity in their games. I guarantee it. I guarantee it. Classic, I have X, but yeah.
There is so much I could say about this, and it was posted on an unpopular...
He didn't say what was after the butt. Well, actually, I guess he did before. I don't remember what was after the butt. But at least he's now acknowledging it is an unpopular opinion. So at least this guy thinks he's going against the grain. Which I think I would generally agree with him.
Their opinion subreddit. So the poster already correctly assumes that most people would disagree with them. But I think...
Well, that's good, right? If most people would disagree with them, then that's good. That means most game developers would disagree with them, and we would see an increase in the appearance of black people and other races in games. Which, as you said, actually, we have. So that's good. Great. Cool. Problem. The world is healing. Nature is healing.
I think one big thing is that some people seem to forget is everyone plays video games. Across all races, nationalities, gender identity.
Yeah, some people seem to forget that. Yeah. And boy, did you really on that one Redditor. Examples are good, so I'm glad he at least brought up an example of somebody making the argument. But a 31 karma post on Reddit for an opinion that the dude who posted it thinks is unpopular, it's not a great example. You either need a ton more examples, some data, or you need examples that are popular. You have provided none. So I'm not convinced by your I found one guy on the internet about something that like a ton of people about this.
These sexual orientations, everyone plays video games. From Mario to Sonic, Fortnite to Garena Free Fire to Candy.
Fortnite's also a good one. There's so many skins in that game. I'm sure you can be Any skin color you want. I don't actually know because I've never played Fortnite, but I'm gonna guess. I'm gonna guess that you can be any skin color you want.
Crush to Solitaire to freaking Wordle, everyone plays some type of video game. So even if certain
Yeah, that's cool. Everyone does play some type of video game. So it's reasonable that it has a little bit of diversity there. It's not unreasonable. That's fine.
players living in their own bubble have been conditioned over generations to think that white men are the ones who mostly play games, so white men should be the default video game protagonist, it's simply not true.
Gerald Jerry Lawson led a team of engineers in 1976 to develop and release the first video game interchangeable cartridges. This revolutionized and shaped the games industry to this day, even made the first game to have a pause button in game. Oh, cool. Great. Sounds like a cool dude. Yeah. Well, this guy, while making his games, maybe he should have put some black people in it. Couldn't tell you a game he made. He should have put some black people in it.
Black people? In my medieval fantasy, how dare you insert politics into this game about war?
Yeah, I mean, the politics argument in a game about war, I would agree, that's a bit contradictory. If it's medieval fantasy, I think it's fair to be at least somewhat perturbed by having no black people in it, right? If it's just medieval, like medieval Europe, that's different. Medieval fantasy, yeah, I mean, maybe have a couple black people in there. That's fine. I don't know, it kind of depends. Because, like, in Game of Thrones, it makes sense. Like, it's still, the world, it's really hard to travel. So, the world is pretty segregated. There are parts of Westeros, and it's not, I can't remember what the East one was called. Easteros, because I forgot the name of it. It makes sense that they aren't integrated, so when you're in King's Landing, you don't see a lot of darker-skinned people, because it's very hard to travel there. So depending on how your world works, it still might make some sense. Like, if you're trying to be like, okay, our skin color is grounded, and this is like a very northern cold area, so you're going to see white people. In the more southern warm areas, you'll probably see more black people, right? Or at least darker-skinned people. So it really depends. If you've got a good mix of locations, you should probably see people of different colors. If you're at least you're trying to maintain that, you might have a totally different race of beings. I don't know. So I could see some argument against the fantasy, but just regular medieval setting would be medieval Europe, I guess specifically would be, yeah, like I wouldn't expect to see a ton of black people. Depends on the story you want to tell as well. Final Fantasy 16 has a slavery story focus, but it wasn't race-based, but on who could control magic, so they wanted to avoid race being a focus. Yeah, I mean, that makes sense, right? But would it, in that story, would it make sense for it to be all white or all Asian people? I'm not really sure. I don't know enough about Final Fantasy 16. In theory, you should be able to have people of all races and colors and creeds and sexualities and all the diversity, all the everything. But maybe it doesn't make sense on that one. I don't know enough about it to comment on it. A lack of diversity doesn't immediately equal a problem. It's nice to have it, I guess, but like, we can't just say we see a bunch of white people, therefore bad. Like, you got to think about why it is.
This breaks my immersion. It's based off of Europe. There should only be white.
Yeah, it just being based off of Europe would be bad for a fantasy setting. I'm sure there were people of color in pre-modern Europe. I'm sure that was true. But there's no way it was a significant portion of them, right? So it'd probably be pretty common to only see white people in your day-to-day activities.
People, I play video games for the escapism of people of color not existing.
Yeah, I mean, if that's an argument somebody was making, escapism doesn't just mean... Okay. Escapism doesn't just mean it has to, like, it can't match society, right? You might want to escape to, like, a historically accurate thing, because that has nothing to do with your day-to-day. A medieval thing, a medieval setting in a video game is nothing like my day-to-day, right? So I wouldn't need the race to be diverse in order to escape. It might be nice for, like, black people to enjoy it so that they see representations of themselves. But if we're going with, like, a historically accurate Europe, at least not meeting the quota of, like, 15% black people or whatever, wouldn't be unreasonable. Stop with your poison. Poison's lame, don't you know? As we talked about earlier, only white men do poison. See? So, as we know here, this thing was a white man. Confirmed.
It's an argument I've seen a lot, especially recently, so I will debunk it one.
I mean, these ones... This is way better than the one Reddit post. I'll at least give them that. The one unpopular Reddit post. Seeing a bunch of things like this. But these are actually arguments for it, right? He was showing articles of people saying that it should have color. So, is it really... I didn't see every one of them. I was killing things. But is it reasonable to start debunking? I mean, you can debunk the other arguments, but I don't... He said he sees it over and over again. Do you have some examples of it being popular and not just random internet?
Once and for all, get ready for Mr. Spaceman's logic and reasoning spectacular. It's true that...
Okay, I am ready. I am a man who likes to be logical and reasonable. So, I'm ready for the logic and reason spectacular. Are you all ready? Let's do it.
Many fantasy stories take inspiration from medieval European ideas. Knights, castles, chivalry, and so forth.
Sure.
If a story
cool.
takes place in a historical setting, such as actual 7th century Britain or something like that, and the intent of the work is some degree of historical authenticity, then it would sort of make sense for most people's skin color to look similar.
There we go! He agrees with us! Yay! That's cool. This is exactly my point. Good. So he's gonna say now, in a fantasy setting, we could change it. So the counter argument, while I agree with him, the counter argument would be like if the world, such as like a Westeros, doesn't have a good amount of travel, and you spend a lot of time in just one area, then you still wouldn't expect it to be very diverse, right? If it's not easy to get around, like we don't have magical teleportation or something like that, if it's not easy to get around, or they're very geographically separated, so you got your islands or something, then it would still make sense. There is an opportunity in fantasy, because you're not trying to be accurate to anything, to make it more diverse, sure. But, you know, it could make sense to not have diversity.
Even if it does have some mystical elements layered on top, like King Arthur, fake guy, but a real setting. So
He's doing it even better than I did. He's going even further. He said if we got some mystical elements on top, maybe it's okay. Like it's more historically accurate. Actually, I don't know if that's really further than what I said, because I said you don't have to be diverse. But anyway, good for him. Let's see what we got.
I wouldn't expect too many people who look like me walking around, just like I wouldn't expect a...
Good. True. Yeah, oh, Ghost of Tsushima, good one. I don't expect many white people in Ghost of Tsushima. And that helps it, because it's all about Japan. You're expecting Mongols and Japanese people. That's who you're expecting Ghost of Tsushima.
The game like Ghost of Tsushima to have too many people who aren't Japanese, just as I wouldn't expect Black Panther to have too many white people walking around Wakanda.
That's true too. Totally fantasy, but the point of Black Panther is they're cut off from the rest of the world. So no, you wouldn't see many white people in it. In fact, you should see nearly zero. And that's cool with me. Granted, I'm represented really well in media, but I never heard anyone complaining that there wasn't white people in Black Panther. I didn't hear anyone even say it was weird. They were just like, there is a couple of white people, but they are the bad guys. Well, there's one bad guy, Smeagol, frickin' plays it. Andy Serkis is a bad guy. And then there's Bilbo Baggins. I can't remember his. Martin Freeman, I think. He's not a bad guy, but they do make fun of him for being white. So, but that's one of them, like, found Wakanda, which is very rare, and the other one was brought there. So, yeah. I don't know about Black Panther in the comic books, but that makes sense. There's not too many white people in the second Black Panther movie either. And the people invade are, like, basically Aztecs, so they're more like South American, like Central American kind of. So that, yeah, the lack of white people makes perfect sense in that way. So if we use the same logic, a lack of black people in a certain setting can make sense, right? God, Black Panther is such a good example of that. We can just totally invert it.
However, this argument falls apart when it's a completely made-up world, like just picking random.
Well, Wakanda is a completely made-up world. It's based in America, but Wakanda doesn't exist, and it's completely fantasy.
Randomly out of a hat here for no timely reason at all, Middle Earth.
But people from the same region.
Yeah, so, okay, he's actually going to go into the argument I already made. So, let's see if we can get debunked live in 4K. See if we can get the good old debunked. Yeah.
Region usually look similar, or at least have the same skin color.
That's true. I don't know how big Middle Earth is, but yeah, that's definitely true. So it would make sense if we have, especially we have humans. So we know how humans work. Humans, other than Numenorians, which are basically not humans, and elves, we know how humans work. So it would make sense that the humans would have skin color based on their environment in the same way that they do in the real world, right? Maybe you can argue dwarves and elves should be more racially diverse because they aren't humans. Like, they're literally not the same species. So maybe their skin should be more affected by the environment in different ways. You know? Dwarves actually, since they spend a lot of time in mines, maybe they should be pale, but that's how humans work, right? Dwarves have an opportunity to be different because of that. Like maybe, I don't know, maybe you want darker skin or something because it makes you harder to see in the darkness or something. I don't know why there might be an evolutionary advantage there. I'm not sure. I'm not a biologist. But yeah, so when you have non-humans, things that are clearly not human, dwarves are clearly not humans, elves aren't clearly not humans, but they're not, like, they're immortal, so already their DNA is way different. So there might be a good time to do that. But I would expect the humans, at least, from the same region to function as humans in real life.
People will decry. Yes, this is often the case. However, when you're creating a setting for a grand epic, you can't just consider one place, but also the surrounding area.
Yeah. So, okay, so you have to consider the surrounding areas. Excellent point. Good. The one he's showing is all separated by water. So if we don't have good transportation, then we're not doing it. Like, if it takes a really long time by boat to go between those big land masses you have there, then you're still not going to see the diversity. If you move, like, just setting-wise, like the story is telling a story in one place, like in all 4 of these islands, then sure, maybe it should be diverse. I don't know. These ones, it depends on how big the landmass is here, right? So yeah, if this story is centered on the middle one, then yeah, they're going to look similar, probably, right? If it's hard to get around, they're going to look similar. Globalization takes a long time. It didn't just start happening. It really started happening once we had, like, the steam engine, kinda, you know? Like, so... It really just depends. A steampunk thing maybe has less of a, argument for this. Because they should maybe have, like, some steam-powered boats or something like that. Cyberpunk absolutely should be, like, really diverse, right? But medieval fantasy, maybe not so much. If they don't have the magic or the technology to do it, then maybe diversity doesn't make sense. Like, Game of Thrones is not that diverse. I mean, I keep forgetting what the East place is. Why can't I... Easteros. I can't remember what it's called. That one's reasonably diverse. And even the south of Westeros has a bunch of, like, dark-skinned people in it, too. Or at least people of different skin. Non-white people, at minimum, right? So that all makes sense. But King's Landing, not so much. The northern parts, definitely not. Because these are regular-ass human beings. So why would they? We start introducing more in House of the Dragon. Because we have those, I believe they did change their skin color for it. But we have those, I can't remember, the dark skin, like, white hair people. Who have some kind of dragon blood. Especially then, you could say, hey, they have dragon blood, so it would make sense that their skin doesn't behave as humans. So there you go. There would be a good opportunity there for some diversity. It doesn't have to be, but it's at least an opportunity. So let's see if he thinks that this geographically diverse thing absolutely has to be diverse in every part of it.
Wouldn't it make sense that places would trade with other regions for exotic goods and resources?
If they can. If you build a thing that can't do that, oh my god, poison all over the place. But yeah, if you build a place where you build a world where that is just not possible, then no, it wouldn't make sense.
They don't have, and that over time people would travel and migrate via these trade routes and settle down in other regions? Yes, because that is what people have done for centuries.
Yeah, but not in, like, large numbers. So it would be reasonable to see a few, but it wouldn't be like a representation of modern-day America or modern-day Europe, right? Because we can get on airplanes and off to Europe. It takes less than a day for me to get to Europe. Probably less than a day to get to Africa. I don't know. I haven't been to Africa. But I'm sure there's a... Well, maybe not for me because I'm in Seattle. But on the East Coast, probably... It takes less than a day for me to get to Asia on a plane. So yeah, so I don't... Maybe it would make sense. I don't know. What's in the world? They did that, but, like, he even said, he's pointing to history now as, look, we made trade routes all over the place, but then said, medieval place in history wouldn't have diversity? So that you contradicted this with your earlier statements. Right? That seems like a pretty cut and dry contradiction.
In the real
God damn
world.
it.
Basically, people move, not to mention wars and other conflicts.
People move if they can. They move if they can. Back in the day, people couldn't. If you make a low technology and at least not specific magic of traveling, that allows traveling, fantasy, then people don't move that much.
So what makes a genre? Is it the class structure, technological setting, tropes, and themes? Or is it purely the melanin content of the characters? So if anyone says...
It was the first part that you said. The melanin doesn't define it, but the technology can define the melanin. Right? If we have human beings in there, and they function the same as human beings in real life, and that's our goal, then the technology and the environment can absolutely dictate the kind of person we see.
It wouldn't make sense that everyone wouldn't be white.
Then at best it could be described as lazy world building, and at worst it could be concluded that the creator may have a racial preference or bias, intentional or not, in a made-up
I don't think it's just immediately bad world building for all the reasons I said. I don't feel the need to go back into it because just repeating myself. They don't have the technology. It is what it is. Don't have the technology. They don't have the means. We can just broaden it to means. If they don't have the means to travel, and you've got a place that makes white people, you expect to see a bunch of white people.
Place, you can have skin color vary between people in a similar way that hair color does. The Witcher
No. First of all, hair color doesn't vary that much by region, I don't think. It seems to be mostly white people have diversity of hair color, right? Because like Asians generally just have black hair, or at least really dark brown hair. Same thing with black people. And it seems even hair color for white people is heavily region-based, because like most redheads come from like Ireland and Scotland, or Britain. I don't know where exactly blonde people come from. I know the meme is German, but everybody in my family is brunette and we're German, so German and Polish. I don't think, maybe Eastern Europe is probably, I would guess there's not too many redheaded people in like Eastern Europe. I don't really know. I would guess it's mostly brown, but it doesn't vary that much. So I wouldn't say that it can. I also don't, is hair color influenced by your environment? I mean, I guess to some degree it would be, but it doesn't seem like it would be as heavy as skin color.
Witcher series on Netflix was proof of this. That is a thing that you can do.
You can do it if it makes sense. Maybe it makes sense in The Witcher. I didn't like The Witcher series, but that wasn't because of any diversity. It was because of bad. But maybe it makes sense in that story. I don't know. It just has to, you just do whatever makes sense in your story. You know?
And only the worst types of people will get upset about it. Which would give your game a lot of free promo. Just saying.
I would say that, like, maybe it's, in a fantasy world, to be upset about it is probably a little much. I might agree with them there. I don't know how many people are upset about it or how popular of a thing. I know it is a thing, but I don't know if it's like this huge problem of everybody getting upset about it. But I would agree it's a little bit much, sure. If it's like something that upsets you so much that you don't want to partake in it, then yeah, it's like, calm down. If it's a great story, but it has like a diverse cast that maybe doesn't make sense, calm down. Like, yeah, maybe say something about it, sure, but if like you're just depriving yourself of a great story because you don't like the skin color of the cast, that seems a little weird. So I would agree with them there. But that's a little bit of a rough one. Right.
Obviously, there are exceptions. For example, isolated places like Kamura Village in Monster Hunter Rise, where everyone there appears Japanese.
Exactly. Exactly. There are exceptions. Great. Cool. We did it. We agree. I almost died. But we agree. That's all that matters.
Or again, Wakanda, where everyone there is Wakandan. On the other hand, you can't.
Yes! 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 Yes. If it makes sense in the story, by all means, have at it. Do it. It's all good. It's all good. Just make it make sense. That's all you gotta do. Just gotta make your story make sense.
And working different races into your story. Fire Emblem, I'm bringing it up again. Fire Emblem didn't have a black character until the 9th game in the series.
Yeah, it was also made mostly for Japan. It didn't start really globalizing until, I don't know if it was the 9th game, but it was recent. So they might have just been trying to speak to the market there, which would be, I think, a reflection more on their society than the game developers itself. Now that it's globalized, sure. If they don't have the constraints of travel or whatever, like a Wakanda or that place in Monster Hunter, then sure. Yeah, add some diversity. Cool with me.
With Devdin, and he was weird. In the game that was about furry.
He was weird is not a good argument. I know this might shock you. I know this might shock you. There's some weird black people out there. I know it's crazy. There's some weird black people out there. There's a lot of weird white people. I know more weird white people than I do black people. But I know weird black people. I know weird people of every race, color, creed, and sexuality. People are weird. Weird people come in all shapes, sizes, colors. Oh, man. So, it's okay. It's okay if he's a weird guy.
Slavery! Fast forward to the 16th game in the series, Three Houses, where the game takes place on the continent of Fodlan. There's no scale given, but...
Okay. Yeah, so it takes place on this continent. And it's probably not super diverse. If there's no scale given, then we already don't know. Well, I don't know. There may not be a scale given, but is there geographical diversity, which would cause diversity in the inhabitants of it? That would be my question.
But the story makes a lot more logistical sense if you imagine Fodlan is the size of, like, Texas.
Okay, well, if it's the size of Texas, Texas isn't that geographically diverse. You know, I would expect it to cover, like, if we're talking about the indigenous Texans, I would expect them to all look pretty similar. There's not so much diversity in Texas that I would expect to see people's skin color change. Maybe I'm wrong, but that seems reasonable to me.
We've gained more ground in our war campaign. Let's go retreat back to the monastery for a month.
The people of Fodlan are white, and people from outside of Fodlan are not. And
Yeah, so that makes perfect sense. Okay, is he saying that this makes sense? Good, cool.
through the conversations, they provide outside perspectives on the conflicts and dynamics in the story. This
Great.
enriches the setting and makes the world...
Great, but it makes sense in that world. That's awesome. You can tell a story that's about an isolated place, though. This is fantastic. Cool. I'm happy to see it. If it works for the story, awesome. Have at it, man. I just want it to make sense. That's all I want. Just make it make sense.
feel more lived in. Final thoughts, including answers to hypothetical...
That was... I know he said he was going to destroy us with facts and logic, but he actually just argued against himself mostly. He said sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. Sure. Great. I'm with you, buddy. It didn't lead to the no black people, as, again, your study that you brought up showed. Your study showed this.
questions and preemptive defenses against bad faith interpretations of what I've said, such as,
Well, you have a pretty good looking game here,
thanks.
but upon inspection, you didn't quite hit the minority quota, so I'm gonna have to declare it racist.
Okay. He definitely didn't say that. He's tearing down some bad faith arguments, which I think is fair enough. He's anticipating these arguments, and he just wants to tear them down. Because there probably is people who are in comments who would act bad faith to him. I could definitely see that happening. I would agree that would be a bad argument. I would agree. I don't mind the preempting of this bad argument because I could reasonably see some people building that straw man. I would like to see... Well, actually, I think he didn't straw man the arguments earlier, but I just still agreed with the arguments. I think he mostly agreed with them too, which is strange. Yeah. I agree. That would be a bad argument. So let's continue.
For most people, as long as the game is good, who gives a who you're playing as?
Yes. Correct. I mean, it does help. It does help to see people who look like you. But if it's good, yeah, dude. Yeah. If it's good and it doesn't make sense, say, hey, you got a great game. Diverse characters would make sense. If it's good and it makes sense to not have diverse characters, just be like, yeah, it's good. Yeah, dude. Yeah. What you do if there's a whole bunch of games where it makes sense to not have diverse characters, encourage them to make the Wakanda... Encourage them to try to get people to make your Black Panther type thing. You know? Because that's totally fine. I have problems with Wakanda as a place, but the fact that it's covered in black people, great. Do it. It makes sense. It is purposefully sequestered from the rest of the world. You might argue that that's stupid, but that is the fact of the world. So great. It's got all black people in it. Yeah, it's great, good. So if a bunch of people are making these ones where it actually is doing the white Wakanda, then you just need to argue for more black Wakandas, which is cool. Great. It's fine with me. Make it good. Make it make sense.
Even that Reddit comment earlier pointed that out. This isn't something I've been silent.
Well, there you go. Glad he agrees with it. Funny, still gonna play it. I'm happy that guy, even though he found it odd that there was so much diversity, I'm happy it doesn't stop him. He's better than I thought he would be.
Silently fuming over for almost 30 years or think.
You know what? The way you be racist against Link, he's a f***ing knife eater. And I hate knife eaters. You understand? Knife eaters. Hey.
About all the time. Most of the games I've mentioned today are games that I like, but I do think it's worth bringing up, since I think it's something a lot of people have never thought about before.
I think it's worth bringing up. I think you have done... You did a good job of showing that there's not that many black protagonists outside of created characters. I think you did a good job of that. I'm not super convinced by the lack of black hair argument. It might be a thing. I don't know. You didn't do a good job of demonstrating that. You pulled 95% out of your ass. But you also didn't do a good job of saying that just characters as a whole, there's not black people. You literally... I was on your side before I watched this video. I said, you can watch it in the stream. I said, it's probably not representative of black people in, like, America. It probably isn't. And then he showed me a study that says it is. So, I'm glad you tried to find a counter argument, but damn, was that a good one, my dude. So, it's good to bring up if it's a real thing. I think you need to focus on the main character thing. I think that's your best argument. The other ones have been less than impressive to me. Ugh. Alright.
Now I have some action items to consider. If you're making a story, reverse your thinking. Instead of going, wow, one black person, that seems out of place. Instead think, does it make in-universe sense for everyone to be the same skin color?
That is great. Yes. That is absolutely how we should think about it. I love that. Excellent piece of advice. Excellent piece of advice. Awesome action item. Love it. Love it. Make your stories make sense. Make your world building make sense. It's good for world building. Make it diverse when it makes sense. Don't make it diverse when it doesn't. Fantastic action item. Well done.
Something I'm not advocating for in video games is swapping the race of existing established characters.
I think that might be fine. I wouldn't advocate for it, but if it doesn't not make sense, it's probably fine, right? I definitely wouldn't advocate for it, but like it doesn't. Maybe Aragorn would be bad, because like we were saying, humans aren't in a geographically diverse area in Lord of the Rings. But it might make sense if you're just having like a story set in modern America or something. That might be fine to that might be fine to just race swap somebody. It might be fine. Depending on their story. If it doesn't actually break anything, I think it's fine. I wouldn't recommend it because it's probably it's probably not necessary, right? So I wouldn't recommend it, but it's probably it can be okay, I guess. There can be times where it doesn't really bother me.
Often comes off as a performative.
I wouldn't do some dumb shit like make Jane Foster the same powers as Thor and call her Thor while Thor exists. That's his name. Thor exists. Why the f is she called Thor? That's some dumb shit. You can do an alternate universe thing, like alternate universe where Thor is a woman. Fine with me. Like, why can't we have that? You just make it good, and I'm fine. But yeah, same universe is very strange. I don't know why the they did that in Love and Thunder. Just like, oh, we're gonna. She's Mighty Thor. Like, Thor isn't a title. You want to say Shuri is Black Panther? Fine. That we've established that's a title. Shuri is not. Why can I not think of Black Panther's name? I'm looking real stupid right now. Shuri is not Chadwick Boseman. It's so funny that I forgot his name. I ruined my point with this. Shuri is not that the name of the actual name of Black Panther, King. T'Challa. Holy shit, I got there. Shuri is not T'Challa. And no one calls her T'Challa. So that's fine. But don't give somebody's name to someone in universe. Stupid. Also, don't. Nah, yeah, I don't know. If keeping a name in an alternate universe makes sense, then sure. But I don't know. But I think it would be better instead of doing this, instead of diversifying existing characters. Damn it! I didn't mean to do that. I meant to hold B. Instead of diversifying existing characters, make new diverse characters. That's so much better. Instead of riding on the coattails of existing things, make new ones.
Gesture. For example, making Sam Wilson the next Captain America, thumbs up.
Yeah, that's fine with me. As long as it works. I don't think it works as much as Bucky because he's not a super soldier. I don't know. I mean, Captain America is a title, so it's fine. As long as he's got the ability to do all of Captain America's duties or whatever. But I mean, he's not going to be able to throw the shield good or something. The motherfucker just, he flies. That's his thing. Yeah, so him being Captain America, no problem here. I do think Winter Soldier would have been a little bit better in the MCU, but it's not strictly worse. Yeah, it's fine.
Suddenly changing Steve Rogers to a black guy, thumbs down, unless the story you're making is specifically an exploration of what kind of difference that would make in his life.
Yeah, so that would make sense. If you want to do an Elseworld where Captain America's black because you want to explore how that would change his life, it's fine with me. Just make a good story, you know?
Try to avoid stereotypes. Characters don't have to be defined.
Yeah, I would agree. Stereotypes can be fine. They can be funny or whatever. There can be a reason for it, you know. And it's difficult sometimes to avoid stereotypes in like really side characters. But generally, you want your characters to be a little bit more fleshed out. There's nothing that exciting about having a character that is just your stereotypical white or black or Asian or whatever. It's just not very exciting. Like, no, it's not a very interesting thing.
By their race or gender, just write interesting, fully fleshed.
You can have them defined by their race and gender. That's fine. People exist like that. As long as it's good. That's the thing. Make it good. That's what you need to do.
Out characters, then consider making some of the new characters non-light skinned people. Have more hair.
Yeah, I mean, that's fine. If it works in your world, cool. I agree. I'm down with you.
Options in character creation.
I'm also, yeah, more options is never going to be a bad thing. More options, not going to be a bad thing. I might ignore a lot of them because I don't like really deep character creators because I don't want to spend that much time creating a character. Actually, some of them can be cool. But most of the time I don't care enough. But yeah, more options, not going to be bad.
Creators. The open source Afro hair library is a great place to start. Mr. Spaceman, I don't feel
Well, there you go. If it works in your engine, yeah, throw it in there. That's cool. I'm down. People did the work for you. Awesome. Let's keep it going then.
Comfortable having black characters in my story because as a non-black person, I don't think I can capture the black experience.
That is a challenge. Okay? It doesn't mean you can't, but it would be harder, right? Because you haven't experienced it yourself. It's way easier to write about experiences that you've had than it is to write about experiences you haven't. So I think that it is somewhat valid, but that doesn't mean you can't do it at all, right? Because like the writer, actually I don't know if it's the writer, but at least the director of American Psycho was a woman. There are excellently written women characters in Game of Thrones, and George R.R. Martin is obviously not a woman. There are, and it also involves the struggles of women, right, in his world. Some of the struggles that women still face today, so that makes sense. There are, like, Harry Potter was written by a woman. So you can do it in cases where the race doesn't actually matter that much. You can still make a diverse cast. That's cool. And there's ways where you can... What you should probably do is you can come up with the baseline of it and be like, hey, this is the kind of story I want to tell. And then talk to people who've experienced that to see how that would actually play out. Yeah, just because you're white, that doesn't mean you can't write, like, darker skinned characters.
Who is telling you to do that? No one is telling you to do that. People can just be...
Well, some people are probably telling people to do that, right? But it doesn't preclude you, but it does make it harder, right?
be black, and that's it. For many characters, the black...
Yeah, exactly. You can just be black, and that's it. That's true. He's right. I like his action items have been pretty good. I'm not convinced by his argument, but the things to do now, cool. I'm with you, buddy. I'm following.
Experience isn't a factor in their story. It's not like every white character captures the white experience of country clubs.
Dang. I've never even been to a country club. You fucking racist. You piece of... What a dirtbag. Racist. Confirmed. But that's one of those times where I don't think that's a real argument. I think he's just around. But we should cancel him. Don't say the C word. Don't say the C word.
Mayonnaise? Colin.
Mayonnaise nasal spray? Hey, I'm a guy who uses nasal spray reasonably frequently, and I like me some mayonnaise. I'm not spraying it in my nose. It's not gonna happen.
Voting against your own self-interest? However, if you want to...
Maybe they're voting against their own self-interest. I'm not gonna dive too deep in that, because it's not really the point of this. But maybe they are. It's tough. It's tough to tell.
To do that, then, I don't know, maybe ask black people for help and make sure...
Yeah, that's what I said. Look. I'm connecting. I'm connecting to this guy in real time. You see the connections forming. We're simpatico. We know. I'm liking the end of this video. The end of this video, this is good. This is good.
They're compensated for their time as well. Mr. Spaceman, I don't want different skin colors or races in my story because I don't want my story to be about race and racism.
Yeah, that's not a good counter-argument either. Diverse characters do not absolutely do not have to like revolve around race. There's no reason why it would have to. You know, like Spider-Man 2, using this because video games and it's a recent one. Has a pretty diverse range of characters, and while you can see influences of Miles' race, it's not like a part of his story. The main part of his story is dealing with the fact that Martin Lee killed his dad. And that's... He killed his dad because his dad was a cop. Right? So it wasn't... You don't have to focus on the race to have diverse cast. Not at all.
Maybe I'm an idealist, but I don't assume that racism is inevitable. It's societal learned behavior.
It's societal learned behaviors because of people. We have tribalism built into us. It's not inevitable because we're fighting against it. So evidently there's something that's also built in us to go against it for whatever reasons. But it's not inevitable in every situation. I would agree. But it does seem to be something that's just kind of built into us. If it wasn't, It wouldn't have happened.
behavior. Mr. Spaceman, I'm not very good at designing or drawing black characters. There's barely any resources on it. Well, how do you think to get...
That's probably not true. I'm sure there's plenty of resources on it. I would guess... I don't know if it'd be drastically different. I'm sure if you're drawing fantasy characters, you can draw real characters. You can look at people, you know, look at existing black art. That would be a bad argument. I would agree.
get better at doing something by doing it? I don't know, use good references.
Isn't it racist to even point out the skin color of characters? I only see them as characters. I don't see their color. What?
It's not racist, but if you just do it a lot when race isn't important in the characters, then yeah, that would be strange. Pointing out like a trend of there not being black people in gaming as a genre, that's fine. But saying, why is Peter Parker white? Like, that's... I don't know, that's a strange question. Or why is Miles Morales black? Like, I don't know. Why do you care? But just talking about it as a trend, fine. Individual instances, a little weird.
Why you gotta bring race into this?
I don't know. Why is my race usually left out of it? Why did my neighbors call the cops on me in college because they thought I was breaking into my own house when I walked in the front door and...
I won't touch that much. It's not guaranteed to be racist. It might have been, but we don't know. But I'm not super interested in arguing against his personal experience. Why is he left out of it? I'm no longer convinced that your race has been, so I don't know. Good question, if it was happening. Why is there not as many black main characters? That's a valid question. Search for the answer to that, my dude.
Broad daylight. Did they leave race out of it? Fuck, man. This is a multifaceted topic
They might have. Not sure.
with other aspects to explore that I don't have time to talk about today, so I'm just gonna call it here. I foresee nothing bad happening after this. Nope, nothing at all. Can't wait to see all the extremely supportive comments on this video. Yup.
All right. I'm going to do a tiny bit of a comment dive after this. We'll go see if we have all the negative things. I think we can sort... It might have been a bunch of reported ones that are downvoted, so he can see more than we can, probably. But we'll look a little bit. I'll search through the top ones, see what they say real quick. And then see if we can't sort it by newest or any other way and see if we can find some really toxic ones. I'm sure they exist, but I would guess that they're not the majority. If they're, I would not consider arguments. Anything that I said to him, I don't think would be toxic, right? Made a couple of edgy jokes, but you know, I don't think any of the that I said to him would be toxic. So if he's referring to those, if there's people arguing with him that like this isn't a problem or something, then those aren't automatically toxic.
And I'll close with, while a lot of progress has been made, there's still several IKEA's worth of rooms for improvement.
Okay, glad you're acknowledging progress has been made. You did focus a lot on older games, and then your examples of a lot of newer games seem to go counter to what you said, so yeah. There may be room for improvement. It seems like the data actually says that we don't really need to, quote unquote, depending on your criteria, but on my, I feel reasonable criteria of that it should be representative of the populace, and then maybe we don't need to.
Anyways, thanks for sticking around till the end, and if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to subscribe. Comment below with who some of you...
Again, as we say with all these videos, don't subscribe to them. Subscribe to me. He has 140k subscribers. I got like 166, I think. I need help. Like and subscribe to me, you know. Do all that fun stuff. Yeah. Like, subscribe. Comment. Tell me what you think of all of my bad arguments, my incoherent ramblings. Tell me that I'm a white guy, so I shouldn't have a perspective on this. You know, all the fun stuff. Just make sure to tell me on YouTube so it gets into the algorithm. Thanks.
Your favorite black and dark skinned video game characters are, and that's it. Video's over.
Just like a black guy, of course the black guy knows how to play bass. Stop feeding into the stereotype, dude. Have you seen South Park? Have you seen South Park? Token knew how to play bass, and Cartman knew it. Feeding into stereotypes. I don't like it. All right. Please, I beg of you, please actually watch the video before embarrassing yourself in the comment section. Go for the rest of the year. It's going to be to get better at green screening. LOL. Anyways, if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to subscribe. One thing this video didn't have time to talk about is representation more than just skin deep. It would be marvelous to see uniquely black stories told in budget video games. However, I'm not sure that at time... I don't know why you capitalize stories, but whatever. However, I'm not sure that at time of writing, the current game industry is necessarily best equipped to handle that weight. Hopefully someday, though. Also, a lot of what I say in the video is applicable to representation or lack thereof of minorities too, not just black people. I agree. I agree with that. I don't know why people is capitalized there either. I know why black is. That's a new trend that's gone on. It'll be refreshing to see more dark-skinned characters, and without some sort of stereotypes, skin color doesn't dictate. Okay, sure. That's not toxic. As an Indian guy that is almost never represented in any media as anything other than a guy wearing a turban or doing yoga and breathing fire or something, I relate to this video. Why you gotta call out Dawson like that? He also stretches. Come on now. All right, I don't want to do this long one. Let's do this. The editing style, the humor, the pacing, the music, everything in this video just kept me so entertained that I'm impressed. Please make more content like this. It was reasonably entertaining. I wasn't convinced by a lot of the arguments. I think the final thoughts is mostly fantastic. I really love the final thoughts. I'll actually probably leave a comment on this, telling him my thoughts on it. But I thought most of the proof was wrong. But it was reasonably entertaining. I'll give him that. It wasn't that funny, but comedy's subjective. You know, I'm not that funny, so what the do I know? Anyway, we're gonna sort by newest, I guess. That's the only other sort we can. Some black Scottish mercenary Cyclops, couldn't you see me? Representation doesn't matter. The only valid point you made is the hair options. See? This is not toxic. I wonder if he thinks it would be. But I think he made another valid point about main characters. And I do think representation doesn't matter. But this is just their opinion. It's not like attacking anyone. So that wouldn't be toxic. Females, MF, when I got better damage than most of you. Okay. What about Steve? Okay. Hey, Corey, sure. Not joking. When I got Super Smash Bros. U on release night, I saw one of the palette swaps and went to my friends going, we have a color black. Repeat, we have a color black because I finally completed with. Yeah, sure. If you want to cringe, set the newest comments. Okay. Yeah, Minecraft Steve. I don't know if he's black, but he doesn't seem to be white. People say Notch is racist. I like white people in games, sure. I haven't seen anything toxic. So, because the majority of people will buy games that are non-black. There. Saved you nearly 22 minutes of bullshit. Slightly toxic at the end. But this is not... Maybe he's got good filters and stuff set up. Maybe it's not getting that many views anymore, probably, because it's like a year old. But I'm not seeing too much toxic here. This video makes me ashamed to be a white man. That's actually reasonably toxic, but not toward the person. Because they don't need to even acknowledge your existence, let alone include you. Seriously, you're just venting at this point. This one, I don't know if I call it toxic, but it's certainly not nice. So we're not seeing... You could not see them in the dark. That's a joke, but it is slightly toxic, but it is a joke. I don't think it's any worse than the Mayo snorting white person. So, bro forgot about Donkey Kong. I realized I'm probably not showing you all these. Bro forgot about Donkey Kong and Super Smash. I'm going to download this one. That is toxic. And he didn't forget about it. He literally mentioned it. See? Trying to spell. Spelling is hard. He literally mentioned it. Watch the video before you comment. There you go. I'm helping out. I'm doing my due diligence. Someone's toxic. But anyway, mostly, I'm not seeing the toxicness that he expected. Maybe it's there. I don't know. He can see it better than I can. And he's probably made similar videos before that have gotten toxic stuff. But I didn't see it. So that gives me some hope for humanity. But, you know, what did we learn today? Well, we learned that despite going into the video thinking that black people actually aren't well represented, at least as overall characters, not main characters, we learned that they are, with the possible caveat that sports games bring that number up. So I'm actually more against this video than when I started, which is the exact opposite of what he wants, I'm sure. We learned that sometimes this could be a valid problem, sometimes diversity could be a valid problem, and sometimes it's not. And this dude totally agrees, so that's awesome. What did we learn? Yeah, we learned, looks like black representation as protagonists could be improved a little bit. We learned that. We learned it's okay to make fun of white people for snorting mayonnaise. You know, what are you gonna do? I guess we just snort mayonnaise, man. I don't know. That's why we're so white. Mayonnaise existed before white people, so we learned that. What else did we learn? We learned that I'm gonna get canceled for making a couple of edgy jokes. But in a few days, we'll learn that nobody watches, so I'm not gonna get canceled. We shall see what happens. Anyway, happy MLK Day. Hope you all have the day off tomorrow. I'm going to stay inside, probably. I might go get a haircut if it's open, but, you know, maybe I shouldn't support it. Maybe everybody should have MLK Day off. But happy MLK Day. Hope you all enjoy the Super Wildcard weekend. Disappointed that the Dolphins lost yesterday because I think they're worse than the Chiefs, so I would like the Bills to play more easy teams. But, you know, it is what it is. They beat them both in the regular season. They beat the Dolphins and the Chiefs in the regular season. So that's what it is. But anyway, thanks for watching, y'all. Thanks for subscribing, liking, all that. Channel's growing. Things look good. I appreciate it. Till next time.